talking about this.
All right, I'm
like,
live. I'll talk to you soon.
Maybe low-hanging fruit to unban.
Okay.
We actually ended up talking about this card quite a bit because I think the points made were pretty valid and reasonable. Of like, every 5-color deck has a card that says if you control your commander, you win the game for 8 mana, right?
Yeah.
And is that an okay thing to do? We talked about it for a long time. People had all kinds of opinions. But ultimately, there's a lot of spells in Magic that are the equivalent of if you control your commander and you cast an 8-mana spell, you're going to win the game. And this card, if you have any pinpoint removal in response, it does nothing. So we decided, let's bring it off, put it on the Game Changers list for here. But of course, we welcome all your feedback on these changes. And these are the 5 we are rolling out with right now. Now, in the article, we talk a lot about other cards we looked at, maybe ones that could come off in the future, depending on how brackets go and so on. But we wanted to hit these 5 for now and kind of see what happens, let it evolve throughout the year as people add these cards into their decks. Commander tends to move slowly, so let's see that evolve. And then next year, maybe we'll evaluate some cards again. But,
yeah. Now, I want us to put in the back of our head that they're on the Game Changer list because that isn't a small cost now, and we're going to talk more about the Game Changer list in a bit.
Yep.
But I also want to spend some time.
I like they have Gavin
there's a
on.
lot of discussion around Braids being a legend that is on the Game Changer list. Can you tell us about that discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we made the Game Changer list, we put a handful of legends on there to start, like Yuriko and Kinnan and Urza, Turgid, some of those guys.
Yeah.
We talked about putting, and we'll get into the Game Changer updates like you said in a second, but we talked about adding some more legends for this update, and kind of what we realized is before we put more legends on the list from not being on a list at all, we wanted to just do a little bit more work on our philosophy around what those are going to be, right? Because it's a very slippery slope to like, okay, well, yeah, we'll put on Nagila and Edgar and then Ur-Dragon, then Atraxa, and before you know it, it's just like all many favorite commanders end up on that list. So we wanted to create a better heuristic around that. We're still talking about it. My initial pitch for what that is that if a card is unfun and powerful, it can make that list, but not if it's simply powerful. So that would mean like Turgid and Grand Arbiter stay on, but Urza and Yuriko probably fall off that list. But anyway, that's not settled in stone. We're still going to be talking about it, but we added no commanders coming up to the Game Changer list at this time. When it comes to unbanning cards and putting them on the Game Changer list, we think it's really important to stick with that philosophy. So we moved Braids from the Game Changer list from the Unban list, onto the Game Changer list when we made these changes. I know many folks have asked about banned as commander, is that something we'd ever talk about again? I think it's something we will certainly discuss, but there's certainly nothing we're going to announce at this time. And also, banned as commander versus only in 99 is a relevant distinction. I know there are many Loot Tree fans out there who would love for the Otter to be freed. So only in the 99 is another way to potentially look at that. And I talk about that a little bit in the article. But no changes to banned as commander or that rule today. We'll be talking about that as a panel in the future for sure, though.
All right. Well, let's move on to the bracket updates because while the Unbans certainly get the headlines, this is really the meatiest change that was made today. So let's, first of all, there's the updated bracket graphic. So why don't you give us an overview here?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about a couple
Good
things.
morning.
So first of all,
we're listening to what they have to say, and then we're going to give our takes on this.
About a lot of bracket feedback and looking through what a lot of folks were saying is we decided ultimately, hey, the system's still pretty new. Let's not change anything of how the bracket system works.
Not like add a 6th bracket or...
Let's not add a 6th bracket or cut a bracket or change the rules around the brackets, right? People are still learning them. It's only been a couple of months. It takes a while for this to trickle out. A lot of content creators put out content a month and a quarter ago and now being like, all right, time for brand new content. If you do that enough times, it really erodes all of your understanding of what the brackets are. So we didn't want to change anything there. What we do have here is, the initial bracket. I think one of the mistakes we made when we debuted the bracket system a couple months ago is our initial graphic did not do a great job of capturing how important intent is to the system. So nothing has changed about how brackets work in terms of the rules around them, but we did come up with an updated bracket image that you see here on the screen here. It's all the rules that were in there previously. Nothing has changed, but it is just laid out in a way that I think puts more emphasis on the intent, which is really, really important to us. And I have a whole section in the article talking about how critical intent is. It's not about just putting your deck into a system and having it calculate whatever it is, although I'm super grateful for all the great work websites like Archidect.
Can you guys hear everything fine here?
Ultimately, it is up to you to kind of understand what it is, because I can, and to give your deck a direction, because I could build a deck that follow all the rules at the bottom there of core that is optimized if I really tried hard. But it's up to you to be a good actor and know what kind of deck you're building for. So we worked on this, shout out to the whole format panel team that put in a lot of work, and Rachel Weeks especially, who did an initial version of this that she put on social media.
Okay, good.
a couple months ago when we announced this whole thing that we kind of took this as inspiration to create this. But yeah, just wanted a more updated graphic out there for folks. But while we didn't want to change any of the rules around how each bracket works at this time, although we've heard a lot of feedback and we're going to be digging into that and maybe make some changes later this year, we did want to change one constant element, which is the game changers list. Right?
Yeah.
This is one of the most common things players have asked for is more game changers. When we initially debuted the game changer system, we wanted to be really, really careful with how many cards were on there because of complexity to learn, and another list of cards, and so on. We did a lot of pre-work, once again, with places like Scryfall and Architect and Moxfield to make sure they were all ready to go.
Happy Unban Day. I have a whole bunch of Docside extortionists.
Yeah, it's easy. Can you please put more cards on this list? So we went back, and we still are trying to be careful about putting too many cards on. I think there is an inflection point where it becomes too much, but we thought we could add a number more cards and have it be okay. So in addition to the 5 cards moving from the ban list on there,
add them,
we have
possibly
18
so.
Game changers that we're adding today, and 2 that we're taking off. So here is the updated game changer list. You'll notice that green has a number more cards. That was one of the big notes we got from people of like, hey, green's really powerful. Did you consider these things? Why did Worldly Tutor survive when all these other tutors didn't? Which is pretty fair. And yeah, just other updates, cards that were called out, Teferi's Protection, and so on and so forth. The art, I'm not going to go into the details of every single one of these. The article does that.
Intuition.
Has a section for every card that's added and a huge section for every card that is not added.
So we'll make a note. We'll go through that article at some point here.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, I recommend go read the article.
Everybody, good morning. Thank you for hanging out.
Lengthy and digs into tons and tons of cards, as well as all the rationale here.
Yep. Now that said, we are going to do a Q&A session at the end of the show, or whenever we're kind of done through the content. We're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A. If you do have specific questions about specific game changers, we're happy to talk through them. Yeah.
The other thing I want to say on this as well is there's a lot of cards were added today. 18 cards were added here, plus the 5 from the unban list, from the ban list moving on. So for 23 additions in total. I just want to say that's not going to be a common thing, right? I wouldn't expect to come back every 2 months and be like, there's 20 more cards for the game changer list. This is kind of us taking in that first initial bit of feedback after, there was nothing.
What's up, folks? Good morning.
A lot of people pointed out cards that they thought should be here, debating it a lot, and making tweaks. So I would expect future tweaks to be much smaller in quantity than this announcement. But we want to kind of bring it up to speed with what many folks had been asking for. And also, while we didn't make any changes to the bracket system as the rules for each of them, one of the biggest ones was more separation between brackets 2 and 3, and just putting more game changers on the list helps create a little more of that separation, right? There's just more cards that are like, oh, well, this will automatically kick you up to be a bracket 3 deck. We're not going to go into what all the brackets mean today other than the image that we showed, but of course, that's all online and linked in the article as well if you want to go check that out.
Let's talk really quick about the 2 cards that came off the game changers list. So Trouble in Pairs and Trinisphere. Those made the initial smaller list. We found that to take them off. Why? Let's start with Trouble in Pairs. Why take Trouble in Pairs?
Yeah, so Trouble in Pairs. So Trouble in Pairs is probably the card that got the most feedback of like, does this really meet the game changer definition?
Gavin's shirt looks so
weird? Now, I do think Trouble in Pairs is a very powerful
got a comfy
Magic
shirt
card, so it wasn't
going
just
on
us
here.
reacting to people saying that.
Yeah.
But as we dug in, there's a lot of comparables that are not on the game changer list that are very powerful draw engines. Cards like Mystic Remora we've opted not to put on. Cards like Skull Clamp is another one that's like, this is a very powerful draw engine, it's very strong, but we did not end up putting it on. We debated back and forth on this one for a while, but ultimately ended up deciding to take it off based on both community feedback and believing that there are other strong cards in that vein that were still around. As I say in the article, we're not opposed to potentially moving it back on again if time goes on and it becomes more and more of a staple, but we did want to move it off for today. Trinisphere is a much different situation. Trinisphere is just not a super fun Magic card. I'll start there. We all recognize it is not the funnest Magic card to play against, but it was one of the only stack style pieces that we hit. There's a lot of cards that we did not hit that are in the space of Trinisphere. Sphere Resistance, Nether Void, all kinds of stuff like that. And by bracket definitions and how important intent is, if you're playing a stacks deck that's going to lock everybody out, that is not a bracket 1 or 2 deck, right? That's not a thing that you should expect to see there. And there are some people that just wanted to play fair Trinispheres. Like, I just want stuff to be a little more expensive, which is a little annoying, but ultimately okay. So for consistency, we decided to just take Trinisphere off at this time. And that's kind of the rationale why.
Okay. All right. Are there any of the Game Changer editions that are favorites of yours?
Ooh, favorites of mine? Well, I guess one thing that's kind of interesting, perhaps, that I'll call out is we did move a number of 1-mana tutors onto this list. Gamble, Crop Rotation, Worldly Tutor were 3 of the big ones. Kind of just for consistency. I mean, a lot of people, have used these cards to make their decks more consistent, and some amount of tutoring is okay. We have, a few tutors in there on the list, but as a restriction for some of the brackets. But these are some of the most efficient ones, and moving them up so that your games at bracket 2 are just a little less. I find the same card every time was one that was pretty important to us. And that's one that I would call out as maybe interesting. I'll say Teferi's Protection, of course, has a special place in my heart because I designed that card. So it's not a game changer now. But enough people were just like, yeah, this is like the definition of changing the game, right? You can't Teferi's Protection and you're saved, or you can like attack everyone, then cast it to make sure you're not hit the next turn. So that's one that made it that I had a hand in. So of course I feel a little bit of a relation to that card. But I also made Trouble in Pairs, so I guess I took one of my cards off. So
there you go.
There you go.
It's good to be in charge. Next card I want to talk about, just because it's near and dear to my heart, is Humility.
Yeah.
To me, this card very much fits the definition of a game changer.
Yeah.
It literally changes the game.
Literally.
It makes a lot of decks just not work. But one of the things I've found interesting about this card is that I have a very hard time putting it in decks.
Yeah.
Creatures are so good these days that I don't want to hit my own creatures. And I find myself cutting this from a lot of decks. What was the discussion around Humility like?
Yeah, well, with Humility, it is a card that shuts down everyone's commander, probably, provided you're all playing creature commanders, which is kind of the core of the format. Slows things down to a crawl, on top of having a bunch of rules.
Interesting, we're not seeing too much of a huge drop on stuff like Dockside yet.
And in many ways, it's kind of in line with Drannith Magistrate, which is a card that shuts down everyone's commanders, know? And so we decided to put that on here.
Everybody, thank you for hanging out. We're going to go back over this information once they get done talking.
Everyone's creatures being a 1/1 means games are going on forever. They're not ending. You can't do the things you wanted to do. So it made sense to us to kind of kick up to the game changer list here.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. I think we have, unless there's anything else you want to go through, I think we have a ton of time for Q&A.
Yeah, I'm happy to just honestly field Q&A. I'll just say a ton is in the article. Like if you want to go read the articles, there's a ton there. I could spend time here just saying the words that are in the article to you more, but it is all there if you want to check out our reason on any cards that were banned or unbanned, and so on and so forth.
Gotta love these ads.
There's a ton there to dig into. Honestly, I'm pretty interested in taking all of your questions because those are the things that we can either clarify based on what was in the article, or we can dig in deeper to stuff that wasn't addressed in the article. So happy to take that now, and yeah, let's do it, Blake.
It helps me find them in chat if you tag @Magic at the start of it. I'll try to grab whatever I can, but that's going to help it stand out for me as we talk through things. So let's start with this question. Why are specific tutors taking up slots in the Game Changer list instead of letting them just be part of the bracket to few tutors distinction?
Yep, absolutely. That's something that we talked about a lot, and I think I mentioned this in the article as well, but there might, in the future, as we revise brackets, I could see some additional changes to the rules around tutors happening. We kind of said few tutors at the outset. There's been some questions as to what exactly is few, and we've clarified that a little bit. But I could imagine a world where, I'm not saying this is going to happen, just saying, for example, where we remove the tutor restriction on the brackets and just put the most efficient ones on the Game Changer list, right? Or go the other way and take tutors off the Game Changer list and are tighter with the rules on the brackets. But we don't want to change the rules on the brackets at this time for the aforementioned reasons. So we decided let's take some things
while
that
they talk. I'm going to eat my protein bar here that I have left.
Enlightened Tutor and Mystical Tutor and Vampire Tutor, Imperial Seal, all that stuff. Put them on for this go around, and then if the brackets end up changing in the future, we'll reevaluate that. But these are also some best-in-class tutors, right? Like Gamble,
Red Baron. This is on
Worldly
Twitch
Tutor,
under
very,
Weekly
very
MTG.
I'll say Crop Rotation is one that I personally was a little skeptical about it when the panel proposed it to me. But then after hearing them talk about it, and one more of the reasons I'm really glad that we have this panel, because they're just like there's all these great opinions and all people that play so much
what's good?
Commander.
Good to see you.
I play a lot of Commander, but I'm one person, so hearing everyone's perspective is great. And they're like, yeah, it's a 1-mana tutor to the battlefield that finds often one of the most important cards in your entire deck. And I'm like, strong argument for Crop Rotation. All right, then we started talking about the kind of cards you got and decided to put it on there. So we hit a bunch of best-in-class tutors here, but as the bracket system evolves, maybe that exactly changes. But for now, we wanted to just move some of those on there.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you very much.
All right, let's see. Chat's jumping. Let's go through. I'm getting. We've seen a lot of individual card questions about why wasn't this unbanned now. Again, you can read the article, but since we're seeing a lot of chat around some of these, talk to us about Primeval Titan.
Primeval Titan. Yeah, so Primeval Titan
Prime time
is an incredibly powerful Magic card. We'll start there. So when Prime Time was legal in Commander, it was admittedly a while ago, so it was a bit of a different time. But the games did quickly begin to revolve a lot around Primeval Titan. It's like, do I untap with it, or does the board start cloning it? There's all kinds of strong lands you can get that just lead to combos.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just listening. I don't want to talk over them and have it be like a whole cacophony of noise. So I'm going to give my takes on this once they kind of wrap things up.
How widely they're adopted, how things turn out. Maybe Prime Time comes back. But like I mentioned at the top of this the stream,
yeah, I think because
crop
rotation,
like, with the 5 cards that were
it's definitely a good card.
How well the brackets are going to be adopted long term, or like how widely they're going to be adopted long term. I'll say that initial adoption is really good. I think I cite the numbers in the article, but at MagicCon it was like 87% of people who tried them said that they helped out their games. The Magic Online adoption rates are great. They're about half of all games are using brackets right now, so really good. And I'm seeing it all the time. I was literally playing Commander last night, and I just heard people around me at tables asking about brackets. So like it's really cool to see it out there in the wild working. But we want to give it a little more time before hitting something like Primeval Titan, which can really warp some of those Commander games.
Yeah, here, I'll make some notes about what we need to talk about once they wrap up here.
I do know a lot of people like the card.
We'll talk about the new secret layer.
You know, I've read through so many Reddit threads, both over the past few days and also even this morning, of like, why not Prime Time? And people in the comments being like, did you play when Prime Time was legal? You know, it is a very, very powerful card.
I was there kind of deal,
and especially ramped out on turn 4 or something like that, it can be pretty
Shadow
warping.
Cloud. It's all good. I only bought 8 Dockside, so it's not that much.
Change the whole game. So I will say it is a card we'll talk about more in the future, certainly.
Yeah, crop rotation can go grab anything. That's kind of like the thought, right?
But, not being taken off here.
Everybody, good morning.
Really fast, not take a break from questions, but a thing we did not say earlier in the show.
Thank you for hanging out.
And I want to reiterate to folks out there too. We're unbanning these 5 cards now, and then we also committed in the article to not unbanning more or changing the ban list more this year. That was a decision that we made. Commander's been through a lot in the past 7 months. It's had a lot happening. Change of hands, a panel being formed, a lot of discussion around a lot of individual
cards.
More
bans this year.
We want to focus this year really on refining those brackets so we can come back next year and do any ban list updates with knowledge of how they've played out, what they're going to look like, and so on. And also just to give people a bit of a breather after what's been a pretty discussion-heavy past 6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
So we're not going to touch the ban list again this year. When we come back next year, we'll be able to touch it. We can ban cards or unban cards or whatever we choose to do at that time. But we're not touching it this year.
Headhunter, what's up?
Bracket system for this year. And we are going to reinstate a quarterly conversations. So just like every few months, you'll be able to hear from us. They will not all be as sizable or as long as today's announcement is. We hope to just get back in the normal communication of like, hey, let's talk about what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're working on, so you can all stay abreast of what's happening. So in terms of if you're waiting for more unbans or changes or what have you, you should not expect anything until next year when it comes to that list. Game Changers will probably update more as this year goes on. I have some dates and expectations for that in the article.
Yeah. That actually is a good-ish segue into this next question, which is actually kind of a subset of questions. So I'm gonna read the question, but what I really want you to talk about is how the committee is thinking about rules changes as well. But here's the question: why, everyone's favorite otter, why is Companion still legal when it goes against the fundamental rules of 100 cards with no wish effects?
Here's the thing I'll say about Companions. I feel like Commander is kind of the one format where they worked out for us. You know, all many players in Commander have ever wanted is a weird deck building restriction. And I love seeing people like, you know, bend over backwards to like make all right, everything costs 3 or more, so I can play Karuga as my commander or as my companion or whatever, even though it's +1 card in a format with card advantage everywhere, right? So I think Companions are actually turned out pretty fun for Commander in general, and I don't have any intent on changing how the Companion rules work. We will discuss them as a group, certainly, and if enough people on the panel feel differently, I'm not opposed to doing it. That's my personal opinion, that I think they're pretty fun. But in the case of Lutri specifically, which is a card that I know people really like, I do think we will be talking pretty, it should certainly be a topic of discussion for the rest of the year on the panel of what we want to do about
Headhunter, thank you for the $4.99. Super chats are live.
$8.99 only, right?
We appreciate you.
Lutri could potentially live. Not saying anything is or isn't
going to happen. I need to make a note, and we need to make a
on the
some sort of stream monarch type
thing. If
thing.
something like that were to come to pass, Lutri to me is a prime candidate of like free the otter, because it is fun. It's a cute otter.
Thank you so much for that.
Come out, so
appreciate
of course, it's even more supercharged than it was before. So I would love to see Lutri back on the menu. Not happening here, but in the future, it's something that we could certainly talk about. I'll say that like my roadmap for the panel for the rest of the year is working on brackets a lot, going back to regular communication, maybe doing some work with the Silver Border project, which was a thing that the former rules committee was talking about before we got here, and also discussing any potential rules changes like this that we would want to dig into. Not saying that any are or are not going to happen, but it's worth at least talking about some of them just to make sure we have a consensus on kind of where we want to be with some of this stuff. And that is one thing, and the fate of Companion and wishes and all that is a thing we'll be discussing. Who knows how that's going to turn out.
All right. What is few tutors? So we have few tutors listed in bracket 1 and 2. Mox is a hard limit of 3. Some guidance would be.
Someone tell me how I get rid of Twitch
I've said before,
ads.
But maybe not in official communication, that 3 is a good line to draw, but ultimately it does come down to, once again, intent a little bit of how often you're planning on tutoring, right? If you're playing 4 tutors in your deck, but they're all 5 mana hyper-specific tutors, that's a lot different than playing 5 tutors that are
Vamp tutor, D-tutor.
But I would say in general, like 3 is a good line to draw there. And when we do some actual revisions of the 5 brackets and how they all look, we'll have more clear communication around that as well.
Yeah, the bracket system will have to be a beta.
All right. With the addition of a few lands to the Game Changers list, would more lands need to go on the Game Changers list for Primeval Titan to get unbanned?
Well, at its base, Primeval Titan is just already putting you up 2 lands immediately plus 2 more lands.
Hot wings for
Jage. They're all basic lands. It's a bit of a different story, but
Jage
like
or
putting a bunch
Pake?
of lands on the Game Changers list.
Thank you, Adam, for the $4.99. Appreciate you.
Is like not the
juice is not the worth.
Really appreciate the super chats coming in, folks.
A lot of these
means
lands.
a lot.
A lot of them are not inherently problematic. I don't think we should do that just for Titan. I think the much more likely potential outcome that could happen, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it's even likely, I want to be clear about that, but is that just as brackets become more and more adopted and people get better and better about pregame conversations, that's a thing that we could unban.
Yeah, Gifts Ungiven has got to be going crazy.
I really think this whole thing has done with brackets is use them or not, it has kind of elevated all the discussion around pregame discussions. I have seen more pregame discussions happen in the past 2 months than at any other time, basically, in my history playing Commander. I witnessed a great game at MagicCon Chicago where someone pulled out their deck and they were like, well, what bracket are you guys playing at? My deck is bracket 2. And someone at the table was like, I have no idea what that means, but here's what my deck is doing. And they just talked about it, right? And ultimately, that's our goal here. No matter whether you use the system or not, all I want people to be doing is have those pregame discussions. And the better folks get at doing that, and the more it's on people's minds, and the more we give you language to talk about it, like I think Game Changers has also been a really good language to talk about it.
Yeah, Gifts Ungiven is going crazy right now.
Game Changers you're playing and which ones, that's just really valuable. So when we do any further evaluation next year, seeing how well the bracket system has been adopted, but also how well just those pregame conversations are going and how plentiful they are, and how the terminology has been adopted, I think we'll do a lot in informing how safe some of those cards are, right? I guess that's what I would say at this point.
All right. Let's go into let's see. Can you speak to Birthing Pod?
Birthing Pod's a cool Magic card. Is the question about does it count as a tutor?
Can you speak to the lack of mentioning? I guess this person was looking for more discussion of Birthing.
Yeah,
Birthing Pod's a cool Magic card.
Yeah. We did not really talk about Birthing Pod at all. I don't think it's a card that's really been. It was not on a radar as like a potential game changer. It is a repeatable tutor, so it is a card that would certainly fit under like, hey, try not to be doing too much tutoring. But it is not a card that is on our list to potentially look at for a game changer at this time. But we're very open to feedback, so if you all feel differently, happy to hear thoughts.
Birthing Piece, like it's a cool Magic card. I kind of feel the same way about Pod. It's like, yeah, it's a great card, but you know,
the partner
it's sorcery speed. It's like
banning low-colored efficient partners like Tymna or Thrasios.
Yeah, we talked about the one we talked about the most. I think is Rograk, or if that's how you say it, the 0 mana cost kobold. It's just
rule 0 exactly.
So
food.
Efficient, well, as efficient as you can get. 0 mana cost commander.
Everybody, thank you for hanging out.
The game changer list, and we talked about a little bit.
If you're enjoying the stream, click like and subscribe. We are going to give our takes after they get done talking here.
The game changer list doesn't really move the needle on how much it gets played.
Right now, just a lot of listening.
We will be open to looking into potentially banning cards. For this update, we did not want to do any bans. We've said that for months. It is plausible we could look at some partners at that time, although that is not something I would necessarily expect would happen. What I will say about the partner rules for command tax, we'll take a look at that as well. But in terms of how the partner mechanic works in general, like that's what's printed on the cards. That's what the cards do. I don't anticipate we're going to change much about how the partner mechanic works. We could look at the command tax thing, but I would say that is unlikely. So I'd expect partners to mostly continue to work as they are. I will say that in design, we're very aware of how powerful partners are. We're pretty keen to not do a lot more of them. I would not expect to see more partners other than just the occasional one-off, like a Yoshimaru or a couple other one-offs that we've done in that vein.
Yeah, like the partners, there's already, like when you think about CEDH.
The pirate guy. Anyway, bird pirate.
There's so many like
we might
partner
feel the same about
combinations that already exist. It doesn't really make sense to keep adding more partners.
Or something like that. Much different story for us, right? Those we can kind of figure out the combinatorics of 2 cards together or 2 cards in a
Cold truth, they have unbanned stuff.
Every new individual partner we add creates so many possible combinations.
Sway of the Stars, Coalition Victory,
put a lot of pressure
Panoptic Mirror.
on the format, especially given that
we'll take a look at the list here.
Again, the original partners in Commander 2016.
Just waiting for them to finish talking here.
They're 2-color partners that are often quite powerful, and it's like having more colors and initial commander in your command zone is just really, really, really strong. So a lot of the most problematic ones, I believe, are the older ones. Although Rograk has his own issues. But I'm sure when it comes to time to talk about that kind of stuff, we'll discuss it. And if any of those should be game changers, we'll discuss that as well. With the caveat that I talked a bit earlier about what makes a legendary creature being a game changer, is something that we're still discussing. And when we have a philosophy around that, that will guide any partner should hit that list as well.
Speaking of legendary creatures, I'm getting a lot of questions about Emrakul.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Food.
First of all, I will not to
like I run Pod in winter, and I used to run it in Carador because the whole point is to sack the stuff to go get Machias or Triskelion and then tutor for the other one.
It was actually a card that many people like. The community was really loud
Robert,
about,
yes, things have been unbanned. We will talk about the list.
Because every deck's endgame was just getting to Emrakul, right?
Yeah.
Derek, thank you for hanging out.
A lot of decks can get to 15 mana.
I hope you have a good day at work.
And it was the best machine
even
to play,
though you're
of course,
working
by a wide margin, which is true of most Magic formats.
You could play it in any deck. Yep.
Every deck gets to use it, right? So there are a lot of reasons it was hit the first time. I do think Commander has evolved a decent amount since then. Now, not every game goes to 15 mana, although certainly if you're green, you can get up there. They make it a potential candidate for an unban in the future. It's not happening now. We'll see how brackets evolve. It is a really brutal card in a more casual game that is lower power.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe depending on how the
food time.
goes,
I think Iron Man is an extremely boring commander.
Yeah. So,
it does the same line every single time.
I'm not touching it right now, and I have another whole paragraph that's always more eloquent on that.
Use the first attack by Iron Man to get my
description of that card. But it is a card we talked about heavily. I'll say that is a card we talked about a good deal.
All right, here's 3 cards we've
thank you for hanging out.
Much about, and we're not really talked about in the article. So we're KCR, Clark Clan Ironworks. There we go. Kurick or Dovecape considered as game changers. I see all 3 in the wild fairly often and feel they exemplify game changers.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I think Kurick came up very briefly, but with the changes with us wanting to do more clarity around what makes a game changer.
Yeah, they unbanned Mirror. Yeah.
One thing I want to be really careful about the game changer list is how slippery of a slope it can be to putting every card that could be unfun or could be widely played on there, because that's not the goal here, right? Our goal is not to have a 200-card list to parse through with everything you could imagine, or even a larger list. We really still want to try and keep that list not super long. Dovecape can be frustrating when it comes down. It shuts down a lot of different kinds of cards, but both the play rates that we believe and the data that we look at, like EDHREC has, makes it seem like it's okay. And also, it is, it's a 6-mana card. It does change the game. Like, yes, it does, by literal definition, change the game. But it's not as widely played, I think, to get game changer status.
Hills Reptiles. I would imagine Crypt stayed on the list because Docside and JLo were all part of that big debacle.
Okay, but what about these cards that are kind of close?
Cards that were banned.
What about these cards that are kind of close? Because you do that forever, and you end up with a multiple hundred card game changer list.
Anger in the community.
Josh Lee has this great thing.
So they probably don't want to roll that back immediately.
It's like, oh, what about this card that's like that card, and this card that's like that card, and this card that's like that card? I think you talked about this in one of their podcast episodes, but we've talked about it certainly some on one-on-one as well. We want to be careful about every individual card we add because it also creates all kinds of what about these cards. So that's part of why Trinisphere came off, because just like it creates a lot of questions about other cards, and why we want to be pretty
Good morning,
careful
Retro.
about,
nice to see you.
We choose to put on.
Thank you all so much for hanging out.
Added in the future, I think almost certainly we'll add a handful of cards here and there, and probably some number of cards will come off as the brackets evolve. But I don't want to do more huge additions, and I really don't want to keep moving that goalpost. I want to, at some point, get to a list that is pretty stable. Hopefully by the end of this year, when we take brackets out of beta, is kind of my target for that.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to talk about unbans here.
Let's see.
The unbans have been announced.
Process question. Do you ever reach out to spell table users to get their perspective on brackets? It's one of the places where brackets and power levels are always used for every game, and we never hear much about spell table being used as a resource in feedback gathering.
I actually do have a bit about this. I think it's really cool. So Amy out there, who runs a spell bot, which is one of the main bots used to pair people on spell table across many major Discord servers. She's been awesome. We've been in constant communication ever since brackets debut. Actually, she reached out to me and was like, hey, we're going to start using these. Do you want some data on it? And I was like, I love data. So the adoption's been really high. It's over half of all games using Spellbot are currently using brackets. And I've got data on which brackets are used and how often they're used and whatever, the numbers on all that stuff. But so once again, that's not every game on Spell Table, admittedly, but it is used to pair people across a lot of major servers. So I'd say it's a pretty good analog. And seeing brackets being used at about every other game there on Magic Online is frankly an incredible adoption rate for something that's only 2 months old. So really happy with how that's turned out, and that is a bit of data there for Spell Table. And I quote that in the article as well. But
here's a good question to clarify something you said earlier. We talked about this last time you were on the show, but it's good to reiterate now. I know you said we won't be touching the ban list until next year, but what if there's another Nadu situation?
Well, funny you should say Nadu. I wrote something in the article I call the Nadu contingency, which is basically if there is another Nadu, if a card shows up in a set this year that is just like, we really got to get this card out of here. Or the other thing I say is if any of the cards we unban become just miserable to play against and mega popular, we will reserve the right to come back in and make a tweak. I will say it would have to be pretty extreme. That's why I call it the Nadu contingency of just like, you never want to see this card around. It is really frustrating.
Yeah.
So I really don't anticipate that happening. But I did want to leave us the window just in case a card shows up in a future Magic set this year that we really need to hit so that you aren't stuck playing against it. And that's only for the ban list once again. We can touch the Game Changer list this year, so I think the most likely thing by far is if another card like that did show up, we would put it on the Game Changer list. But yeah, maybe there's a really extreme situation and I didn't want to cut ourselves off from it.
Yep.
And I love the name of Nadu.
That makes sense.
It really speaks volumes about how I feel about Nadu.
Behind draw engines and trying to win at flash speed, which is an awful play pattern. Was there any conversation about CEDH?
Yeah, we definitely talked about CDH a good deal. We have several people on the panel who are pretty deep into CDH and know it well, like Lewis Stardust, like Deco, who are CDH players. Rebel has a lot of experience in CDH, although that's far from the only thing they do these days. And they all weighed in from a CDH perspective on what people thought. Obviously, like any competitive format, there's all kinds of opinions on how the format is. We know that CDH has gotten a little mid-rangey, and people holding back, trying to do Thassa's Oracle style combos. I'll say I'm not a CDH player myself, so I can't speak to it as eloquently as Lua and Deco and some of the others can, but it is on our mind, something that we did discuss here. The note, of course, is that the widest form of commander by a wide margin is casual kitchen table commander.
Yeah.
So our bans are generally going to optimize for that, but something that we can definitely talk about bans that will impact CDH in the future, sort of like how Flash was done previously, where Flash was not a card that really saw any play at casual tables and was only really frustrating at the higher levels. It's a thing that would definitely be on the table to talk about if there were cards in that.
Flash Hulk,
so, lots more discussion will happen over, when if we do talk about any
Visitrex as a commander would be amazing, yes.
At all at this point.
All right, here's a good question.
On par with some of those old legends from Legends.
Bracket 3 decks, or does it count as mass land denial?
Sway the Stars is a very funny example because it kind of resets the game. It's in the World Fire camp, I guess I would say. I personally would tend to count it as mass land denial because it resets the game. But honestly, if you're playing Sway the Stars in your deck, I would tell it's the kind of thing that's a great pregame conversation discussion of like, hey, my deck can do some wacky stuff with cards like Sway the Stars or World Fire or whatever. But yeah, I would count that as resetting the game in a mass land denial style way.
Okay. Can game changers appear in future precons? So you've expanded the game changer list now.
Yeah.
It's more cards that could potentially appear.
Each player's life total becomes 7.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot on the design team and how we want to handle game changers, especially with the current definitions of precon kind of being bracket 2. A few things on that. First of all, it's plausible that tying things to precons was not
Each player
the
shuffles
best way
his
to
or
work the
her
bracket
hand,
system,
graveyard,
for
and
initial
permanents he or
rollout.
she owns
We're not
into
changing
his
about
or
the
her
rules
library,
and
then
how
draws
things
7 cards. Each player's life total
listed right
becomes
now.
7.
But in the future, you might see us pull away from that terminology a
I
little
don't know,
bit.
man.
With that said, in general, what we in the design team are talking about is, first of all, of course, everything for the next near-term
Thank you all so much for hanging out today. We are going to go over the list. We're going to give our take on it once they finish talking here. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about this secret layer. So there's a lot of stuff to go through.
It's something that we're going to be aware of as we're designing the decks. I don't think that they're fully off the table. I talked about this previously when we discussed. I've talked about
right, food time. I agree with you.
It's okay for precons to have a little bit of variance there. But it does really makes a card that we're going to be talking about, right? Like, if you're going to put a card that's on the game changer list in your precon, there better be a pretty strong reason why, right? Like, if we were to do a spirit precon and we were looking at Seedborn Muse as like a spirit, that would make a lot of sense to go in there. That's a conversation we could have, right? Or I think I would use the previous example of like, if we were to make a ninja precon, we talk about Yuriko going in there.
You're getting some jumpy behavior.
But
is anybody having issues with the stream?
They're still in beta, so I don't want our designers to do too much work on following that until things are a little more crystalline and the rules
stream should be good.
The brackets are fully out of beta. So that's kind of where that's at right
now. Interesting thought starter. I think the answer to this hasn't been discussed yet, but speaking of precons, what about putting the level of the precon on the packaging? That way you can have lower power precons and higher power ones.
Yeah, I talked about that in my initial rollout article 2 months ago. I could imagine a future where that happens.
Okay,
and
good.
That gives us some cool differentiation between precons. Hey, this set, they're bracket 1 precons, then they're really goofy and silly and have weird themes. This set, if we were to do like another Horizon style set or whatever, hey, these are bracket 3 precons. They have some game changers in them. Like, that's the thing that I talked about in the article 2 months ago. I don't want anyone to start making changes to packaging or doing anything along that lines until we see how brackets continue to go and until we see
that makes sense.
What the final bracket rules are. But I could imagine a future where if they're adopted enough, we could do something along those lines, or at the very least be like, hey, here's our new Secret Lair Commander deck. Here's the bracket it sits at, or whatever. So that's all stuff that is within reason for us.
All right. There are a number of questions about bracket 4. I've heard from a few content creators that it's too wide a net for one bracket. There was another question about it being essentially off-meta CEDH decks. Any thoughts on bracket 4 specifically?
Yeah, so I'd say we've all read so much feedback about the bracket system, like so much, and talked about it so much. I'd say 2 of the biggest asks are for a bracket 2.5, something between bracket 2 and 3, and a little bit less than that, but still decently asked for, something between 3 and 4, right? Okay. Where 3 is like, yeah, our decks are upgraded and playing with a few game changers, and 4 is like, do whatever you want, it can be powerful, full of combos. And there's a number of people that are like, well, my decks kind of sit somewhere between where these are. Often, my recommendation for folks right now in that camp is you probably want to be playing at 3, and you should just try and get down to 3 game changers. But we are we are pretty, have heard that feedback. So as we go and revise things, that's a thing we might definitely put in there. between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 are places that we look at the most. I also want to say that like I do think pre-game conversations will help you out here of like, hey, my deck's about a bracket 4. What are you guys playing? Are you guys playing fast combos? I might not enjoy that. Whatever fits your definition of 3.5. And the other thing I want to call out is I think a lot of people are like, well, my deck's not a precon, so I'm not going to play at power level 2 or at bracket level 2 here at core. Two things about that. The first is, as I mentioned earlier, it's possible precon wasn't the best terminology for us to use here initially. And we're going to be looking at that.
Okay.
But with that said, I do think a lot of folks have in their heads like what precons were a decade ago, and precons are a lot different today.
They are, yeah.
Precons today, I hear stories all the time of like, yeah, the precons today hang or beat my friends in our pods that we play at home. So I would encourage you to think about what a current precon is like, which is why it says average current precon on this, and we've said that a number of times as well, because current precons are pretty strong, and I think a lot of decks folks have, they're like, well, it's not a precon level, it's a 3. But it can actually hang at a precon level, precon level pretty accurately. So I would think about that as you're talking about where you are. And I think many folks are kind of thinking their decks are maybe
Riley
one
over on
bracket higher
Twitch
sometimes
says, hey, what's up?
They should be. But
Thank
with
you
that
for hanging
said, we are going to look at both 2.5 and a 3.5.
We are cross-streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you to all of our folks over on Twitch that are watching.
And see what we can do there. I think the other one that we have the most questions about right now is Bracket 1, Exhibition.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Exhibition is something that we've heard from a number of people. They're like,
yeah, modern
really
precons are pretty good
at my theme deck, right? Yeah. Something that is really theme and less about winning. And so we made that initially. And I'd say a lot of the initial feedback we got on brackets is like, why does this exist? Not enough people have this. Is it really worth calling out individually? And for a while, we're like, well, maybe we'll just get rid of this. But kind of one of the reasons why we wanted to
Sorry, chat, I am still waking up.
And the 5 brackets as it exists right now is because over the past 2 months, slowly we have seen more people build bracket 1 decks for exhibition, and people starting to stream their exhibition games. And there's a great one of our members, Itsuyu, who's in Japan, at his store Haruyuya, they started running like a bracket 1 event where everyone, 30 plus players all brought their bracket 1 decks to go play, and it looked really fun. So Commander moves slow. It takes time to build decks, assemble cards, get everything you want to do. And we didn't want to cut the legs off for exhibition and that bracket to thrive before it got the opportunity to. So look, if later in the year it's still not,
Will says, I will be showing
played,
my new friends none of this.
Maybe
hopefully
we will change that, kind of
need to
how
know
the brackets work. But let's give it time to see how that turns out, as opposed to giving it a month and a half of a format where it takes time
Old
to
World,
build up your commander decks.
I think maybe he said that, or
I've also heard about a number of folks
just like kind of flying off the cuff, possibly.
So that there wasn't a middle everyone could gravitate toward, right? I know that's something I even mentioned all the way back in September, October, when we initially started talking about anything like this. And that's something that we're taking into account as well. So we will have some larger bracket revisions, I think, later in the year. But we really wanted to give it just time to let this
Riley says, actually, I want to share with you, I'm an animator and VFX artist, and it's a big part of my life, and I'm passionate about it. Can I DM you my portfolio on Discord?
Some number of things will just be taking time for folks to
sure, we could drop the Discord in there.
So let's try and meet in the middle
you can find in the description of our video, I don't know if you are on YouTube, but you can find in the description our link tree. Just 1 second.
Questions about the number of game changers. So it's been, it's 0, 0, 3, any.
Yep.
Has there been any, so like one question, was there ever any discussion about each bracket allowing up to that many game changers, etc.?
Yeah, I touch on this in a way in the article.
But was there any way you could, there we go,
feedback we've gotten in this is like, hey, let us play 1 game changer at bracket 1 and 2, right? And then usually that's followed with make Soul Ring a game changer and let every deck have 1 game changer is kind of the example a lot of folks use. One thing I think is really important is to preserve a space where if you don't want to play against cards on the game changers list, there's this place for you, and that's not a lie, right? Yeah. It is, a lot of people don't want to play against Rhystic Study, they don't want to play against Smothering Tithe, and being like, well, everyone can include 1 of these, just means that you're going to get even more frustrated when that person does draw their 1 Rhystic Study and play it down, and you have to fight through it. So I think that
Delford, we are going to go over a lot of the stuff once they wrap up really here. Important. I know that they're going to wrap up here in probably the next 10 minutes, and then we're going to go through the game changers. We're going to go through this new secret layer. We're going to give our takes. We're going to look at kind of like the market price on some of these new cards and stuff.
Personally, I find the system of like none in these, some in this one, all in these, just a little more clean and understandable than like this one gets 2 and this one gets 4 and this one gets 6, because it's it is somewhat scientific. Like actually we got some data from the folks at EDH Rec that showed that believe it or not, in the first
Venom,
rollout
you
of
just
this,
have a lot
the
of
average
friends
number of
on
game changers is
on
about
West
3
Coast
in
and
some of the
Mountain Time,
higher-end
buddy.
commander decks. So it was like a really nice thing for us to point to. Of course, there are more game changers now, so maybe that's a little.
What's up, Brad?
Different.
Good to see you.
So it is a little bit of science in there, but ultimately it is a bit about feel. So I could imagine us changing those numbers in the future, but I would not having each bracket have different numbers of game changers. Like this one has 0, this one has 4, and this one has 6, and this one has 8. Maybe that's the way we could go, but I'd prefer to not go that way if we can avoid it. With that said, that's my personal opinion. That's something that the panel and us will have to all talk about as we continue to evolve them. All right. Hopefully, that was a long and meandering. Hopefully, that answered your question there in chat.
All right. You mentioned it offhand earlier, but we have gotten a number of questions about the Silver Border project.
Yeah. Silver Border project is something that we're still very much aware of. It is on the list to be talked about as this year goes along. When you think about the format panel, there are kind of major milestones and discussions I wanted us to be able to hit, and make sure we have the thorough discussions we need on all this stuff is really important without pulling focus too many other places. So some major milestones were rolling out the bracket system, doing the first bracket system updates, and getting to the unbans, which were something that we said we would do all the way back last year in October. Now that we're through those things and we're able to say,
taking me with you. All right, 5-9. Sounds good.
Year, it gives us some more time and flexibility to dig into not just bracket system level improvements, but other projects like the Silver Border project, like talking about any potential rules changes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I do want to say in general, one thing I don't want to do is make a ton of changes to Commander because the format is super popular, super successful, and so changing the core rules of the format is not something to be taken lightly. Will we end up talking or changing any of these? Yeah, it could very well happen, but we want to do it very carefully and with enough discussion. When it comes to things like, I know a popular one is hybrid mana or wishes or companions, we'll talk about all those things. There's going to be a high burden of proof on actually executing on them. And when it comes to the Silver Border project, which is something that the rules committee started,
it's almost an impossible
task.
You have a game with so many different rules and interactions and cards
over the course of this year,
that getting it right perfectly will likely never happen.
I'm seeing a number of questions about topics that are not this.
They'll probably never happen.
Questions, but we're talking about Commander today, so I don't have any news on any of the other topics that people are asking about. Not that they're bad questions. They're just kind of outside the scope of this show.
I'm sure there'll be a show next week, right?
There's shows every week.
Ask them
most
that.
every week. All right. Is there specific feedback you are looking for on the bracket system?
I mean, we welcome all feedback, and I guess now is a great time to shout out. Great places to give us your feedback are, of course, on social media.
Sounds good, Riley. I appreciate you reaching out.
The replies to my video today that I put up, but also specifically the official Magic the Gathering Discord has a place for collecting feedback on these changes and the bracket system in general. And we have our community managers in there monitoring it and sending reports to us on the panel. So if you want to deliver feedback, that is a great place to put it. So I really recommend the official Magic Discord as a place to put that stuff. In terms of what feedback is useful, really welcome all feedback, but some key things to think about are are you finding any issues with the brackets in terms of my decks don't fit into the brackets, or my playgroup has this kind of disconnect with how the brackets are working.
I wish they had a sense of humor, and right when the stream ends, Gavin says, "Oh yeah, Mana Crypt Unbanned as well." Bye guys.
Those are two big things
that'd be great.
I think you could provide feedback on. But ultimately, we're open to all feedback, and it'll all get captured and sent over to us. So please feel free to share whatever you're.
Yeah, Blake is.
Over the past few months, I've gotten so much great feedback, and
he's
when I
stone
say
cold at this point, man, he's been through the ringer with a lot of this stuff.
Really have, and while I simply cannot reply to everything because the pure volume has been gigantic, I know that it's getting read, and thank you very much for sending it in.
All right. I will ask about it. You did cover it in the article, but the 3 cards, Mana Crypt, Lotus, and Docside, that got banned a little bit ago. They stayed banned. You talked about it in the article, but I am getting questions like, can you expand on it at all on what you wrote in the article?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll say exactly what you said, which is I have a whole section of the article talking about these cards. We knew that not addressing them would be like plugging our ears to the elephant in the room, right? So we wanted to
we're going to go over that
just
article.
Like everything else when we talked about the bans, they were on the table as cards we could discuss.
Can someone get me that article?
Talking about them or potentially taking them off. But
and send it to me on
opinions
Discord.
range from I enjoy Commander more without these cards. That's what I've come to learn. Even if I didn't enjoy the bans originally, now that I've played Commander for several months like this, I enjoy not having them there. all the way to just like, it's too early to talk about these cards, or let's see how brackets continue to evolve before we make any decisions about these cards. So kind of general consensus was, let's not touch these at this point. I'll also say, of the 3 cards, I'd say if the one with the most momentum, and even then it was not even very close to a majority of people, but the one with the most momentum and the one I think is maybe the most likely that could come off at some point in the future is Jeweled Lotus. Just like it is a Black Lotus analog. It helps out high mana cost commanders. It is only really legal in Commander. There is that one weird legacy deck, I know, but I'm ignoring what Double and Cube can do.
Yeah.
So that is one that I think has the highest chance, but even then it's not me saying it will come back or us saying it these will ever return. So we'll discuss it more as it gets into next year. I'm sure when we talk about opening up the ban list again for changes, those cards will of course come up. But we did talk about them a lot. Like obviously these were on people's minds, but we elected to not take them off at this time. So hopefully that answers your question, and I encourage you to go read the article for more. The other thing I'll say on it is, I know there's a lot of people on all sides here, right? There's people who are like, I love these cards, I love playing with them, I really want them unbanned. There are people who are like, I haven't been enjoying Commander without these cards, you should not ban them, or you should not unban them. So we knew whatever path we took, some number of people would be like, I want my thing back to play with, or I'm upset or whatever. So hopefully, the fact that we were being transparent and giving you our rationale helps out there some. But ultimately, we know they're beloved cards, and a lot of people like them, and we know that they're cards a lot of people are happy are not in the format, and those two things will always fight against each other. So thanks for your understanding.
Says unbanning gifts and given
I encourage you to go read the article
will empower and incentivize Underworld Breach more so, but I appreciate Magic's willingness to unban things at all, though. Yeah.
I'm going to read this one because I haven't gotten my one reference in yet this show. Do you think you'll make some game changers worth more, similar to Canadian Highlander?
It was discussed initially, but I think the answer is going to be no on that. I think it is far more likely that we would give different brackets, different numbers of game changers, which, as I said earlier, is already a thing I'm not mega keen on, than do that. Simply because it is a lot to get granular on and a lot to keep updated. And like thinking about the current game changer list, trying to figure out how I would point all those cards and what heuristics you want to use, it's going to get really granular. And I think a little too confusing. It's already an additional list of cards to track. So really, my goal here, and I think the goal of many folks on the panel, is one list that you can track and just keep an eye on. Now, does that mean that the same weight is given to Seedborn Muse as it is Demonic Tutor, and is that correct? Well, yeah, they are different. They are little different power levels of cards, but they still fit in within the category of game changer. And I don't want to get mega granular.
Yeah, sideshow. It is a little bit
discussions and problems down the road. So I would not anticipate that.
I don't know. It's a little bit complicated. Yeah, for a new player coming in, they'd be like, "What are they talking about?"
It's just a lot harder.
It's
right? Not a competitive format, right?
Yep. So. All right, we are just out of time. I do want to
thank you, Jank.
Give you
I appreciate you.
Gavin, to reiterate what's coming up. When should people expect future communications, actions, that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. So at the top, I'll say, and I've said this many times now, but I'll say it again, no further bans or unbans this year. We're not going to touch the ban list for the rest of the year. Next year, we'll be able to come back to it and do
and Blight Widow Senate, I appreciate you guys.
Time, and not only at a once-a-year interval. I don't want to set up an expectation like standard. It's only going to be a once-a-year thing. But we're not going to touch it for the rest of this year. We are going to go back to quarterly communications with you all that are not always as lengthy and as meaty as this one. They're just like, hey, checking in. Here's what's going on. Here's what we're talking about. Here's what we're thinking about.
We're about to go over the article chat, so just hang out here for a minute.
And forecast things we're thinking about. So if there are changes made in the future, you're not surprised about them. We're not going to be making any more changes to the Game Changers list, certainly, or brackets until sometime after MagicCon Las Vegas. So for the next little while, this is stable. And I think
MagicCon Las Vegas is in June.
I think I might have said late June, early July. Is that what I said? I can't remember in the article, but
it's in there.
It's in there. It's in the article somewhere of when I would expect to hear from us next. So we're hoping to keep plenty in touch with all of you, make regular communications, no unbans or bans for the rest of this year.
Gavin needs to bring back the beard. I remember when he had a giant beard.
The last thing I'll kind of end on is a thing that's been reiterated to me so many times is Commander moves slow, right? It's not like a competitive format where the meta is changing all the time, or stuff needs to happen for format health constantly. Commander moves really slow. It takes a long time to adopt. So I would much rather us move slow on this stuff, make changes, see how they're received, go back and iterate, than do anything too quickly.
Yeah, Travis, I think that's a really good way to onboard somebody to the game.
Is a lot.
Just get them used to how it works.
Commander, 5 unbans in a single day is like titanic. So let's see how these 5 go, how they're adopted over the course of the year, how quickly they make it into decks, what reactions are as folks actually get to play with them. And that will also inform us a lot as to what we might want to do in the future. But for now, I think it's quite a bit, and I don't know. I'm ready to go cast some Gifts Ungiven, Blake. I don't know about you, but it's
I've got them lined up. I got to figure out what decks they go in. All my blue ones, I guess, probably. All right, that's all for this week. Next week we're going to be back. So for all of you who had random questions,
all right, it's not over. This stream is not over. This stream here is over, but our stream is not over. We have some stuff to talk about.
If you have more questions that we didn't get to today that weren't about Commander, or if they are about Commander, sure, why not? We'll be just kind of hanging out next week. The week after that, Weekly MTG will be taking a break because if I remember my calendar correctly, that is the week that we head to PAX East to debut Final Fantasy.
I'll be there.
Yep. Gavin will be at PAX East. So next week we're going to hang out, answer what questions we can off the top of my head. And then the week after that, no show on Tuesday, but we'll have the big debut at PAX East. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, so first things first, let's move back over here while I prep our next sections. There's one thing I really want to talk about, and then we're going to talk about these bans. I see something over here that is honestly really wild to me over on, let's close out Twitch. We're good on Twitch. We're good there. This secret layer is the most ridiculous price. I don't know what is going on with it, but I'm going to give my take on it really quickly. What we are looking at here, let's just head over here and take a little quick gander because this is pretty wild to me. And then we are going to talk about all of these bans. For some reason, and the only reason I can think is because I'm looking at cats, this secret layer is $60. Adventures of the Little Witch foil. Secret Rendezvous, Serenity, Realms Uncharted, and Asika's Chariot. And the only reason I can think is because, I mean, okay, so here's the secret layer. We got Secret Rendezvous. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. This is fine. Serenity. At the beginning of your upkeep, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. They can't be regenerated. Asika's Chariot. I mean, it does look like my cats. It literally looks like my cats. Create 2 green cat creature tokens. When it attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. And then Realms Uncharted. This right here, they literally put cats into a secret layer because they see what this cat and dog factor is doing. And I have to say, this is like some evil mastermind type shit right here. They literally bumped this $20. They bumped this up $20. I have no words. Let me go ahead and turn music down just a little bit. I mean, this is a pretty significant thing. Now, everybody, I am going to go back over. There's a lot to talk about. I am going to go over and continue discussing. But this is something that we have never seen here, man. Like, this is a significant bump in price. Now, look, you can buy it for $30, as per usual. They have the same thing here for $30, but they have absolutely gone full greed factor. Yeah, Arcanow, exactly. Says, for that price, I want an Ocelot Pride in that secret layer. I am going to talk a lot more now. Here's the thing. On the old channel, we would always talk over what everybody's saying, and it just kind of sounds like a whole bunch of muffled cacophony, right? It's like, while Blake and Gavin are talking, we're over talking, and it's just a lot, right? So I wanted to give them an opportunity to talk, hear Gavin's points, hear the questions from Blake, actually listen to what they're saying versus having it as a backdrop while we just talk. I am very serious about talking to chat. Talking to chat is a really important part of the stream. I appreciate everybody who's been hanging out. Now is going to be the time where we jump in and I talk with chat a lot. We get into the meat of what's going on here. But I did want to talk about quickly the what's going on with this secret layer, because it's it's a lot, man. This is like Blight Widow, I know you're a massive fan of cats. This to me is very very egregious. Like, this is on par with, like, this is worse than, Deadpool, which was the 40-50. Now we've gone from 40-50 to 30-60. And here's the thing, is we talk about this all the time. Cat factor. We talk about how the cat factor is very much a big part of this. I need to make a note because I want to make a short out of this part. This is an absurd price, dude. I get that it's a Chaos Vault and it's like one of these drops, but it's impossible for me to not just see this as they took cats and they used that as a way to push it. I would buy this if it were the $40 price, but I don't think I can get behind this. I don't think I can get behind this at 60 at all. And that really sucks because these actually do look like my cats. I have an orange cat that's kind of fluffy, medium haired with like a bushy tail. And my cat Ripley is gray and white, and she has a very fluffy kind of like mane in the front. Like, these look exactly like my cats. It helps that I don't really like playing green, and this is a heavily green white. Like, green and white are kind of mid. But yeah, I think this is an insane price. Now, the secret card might be something that's just, way over the top, but I mean, this is extremely expensive. Let's see what we can learn from the description. These reprints were individually selected to go with the art, style, and tone of Hikala's amazing work, and we think they turned out great. But then later, for fun, we challenged our designer to brew up the least terrible possible legacy deck he could using all 4 of them. Someone please go take down a tournament with this thing. Can you imagine how hilarious that would be? And here's the deck if you want to take a look at it. I like how they use a lot of secret layer cards. Interesting. Yeah. All right, let's continue talking about the game changers, but I did want to bring this up. I mean, here's the thing, Blight. You can skip on the foil. You can skip on the foil and you can get the regular for 30. But yeah, they really went over the top. They really went over the top for that foil price. Let's go ahead and talk about the article, because I know a lot of people want to talk about the article, and I think it's important that we do. For anybody who's just getting here, I appreciate you hanging out. Thank you for spending your time over here. I know there's a lot of people that are streaming right now, so I appreciate you coming on over here to spend some time at Martishius Magic. If by the end of this stream you are enjoying it, I would encourage you click like and subscribe. Come back and see us again in the future. We do streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. So if you're looking to get your MTG info in, we do have weekly streams for 4 hours a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This is obviously Tuesday, so we will be live for this kind of stuff. There are long form videos that come out here. There are shorts as well. But when we have important days like today, where news is on the agenda, we like to go ahead and cover that. So from Gavin, who was talking about, we have a whole article here. This came out earlier. I know everybody, go ahead and drop a big old laughing emoji at me in chat. I bought 8 Dockside Extortionists. I don't think their price is getting that badly nuked right now. Let's go ahead and see. I imagine as this news gets out, they are going to race to the bottom. Yeah, we do see Monkey Pirate here. Near Mint Foil is still... Okay, Near Mint Foil has taken a pretty significant drop. This was around 80. We're going to see this chart kind of, you know, take a dip back down. That's absolutely going to be a thing. Regular Dockside here. This was creeping up to around the $30 range. Now we're seeing... I mean, we're not seeing a huge significant drop yet. I imagine what's going to happen is a lot of these folks are going to start undercutting each other, and then we're going to have Dockside drop again. So I'm just going to say that these 8 Docksides that I got are my... I don't know, let's call it a starter position for possibly a future unbanning. Who knows? Maybe it will never come back at this point. Food Time says, unrelated, the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster launched today. Right, Blight Widow says, it doesn't help when I'm foiling out that deck. Yeah, you know, I mean, this is a very absurd price on this Secret Lair. I keep switching between you and Joel and Travis. Yeah, typically, well, you know what? I'm not going to dig into that. We wish Joel the best. Just drop that in chat. We wish Joel the best. That is our default. We wish Joel the best. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this this here. Gavin, banned and restricted. So Gifts Ungiven is unbanned. We talked a lot about this yesterday. We had a whole stream going over all of these cards. Sway of the Stars. Thank you for the subscription. Saving Private Muffin. I appreciate you very much. Sway of the Stars is unbanned. Braids Cabal Minion. This one to me is pretty wild. Pretty wild. Braids unbanned, Coalition Victory, and Panoptic Mirror. So we talked a lot about all these cards yesterday. We had a whole stream going over the history of banned cards in the format, that kind of thing. Yeah, right now, you know, people are racing to find this stuff. Do I even have Coalition Victory? I'm pretty sure I do. Pretty sure I have some copies of that old junker. Wait a minute. Now I'm interested. Yeah, everybody, we're just gonna hang out here. We're gonna do a stream. I want to check one folder really quick. I think I have older stuff in this one here. Let me see. Yeah, this is older stuff. Let me see if I have coalitions in here. And then I'm pretty sure somewhere I do not have a Sway of the Stars. Geez, I have like 4 Lotus petals I wasn't even thinking about that are in this binder. And thawing. I have 3 glacial chasms. Okay. Is Coalition in here? Yay or nay? Nope, it's not in this binder. So I don't know where it would be, but I think I have one somewhere. All right. It got removed from the old Discord, so it goes. All right. Hello, this is Gavin. On behalf of the Commander format panel, we have said we would do an evaluation of the format's ban list ever since the panel was announced last year. We've now finished the evaluation of that list, and today we are unbanning 5 cards. For those using brackets to define your decks, it should be noted that cards being unbanned will immediately move to the Game Changers list. And if you're interested in more talk about brackets, you can check out today's update on those, including several new Game Changers in this article. When it came to reviewing the banned list and unbanning cards, we felt the cards we unbanned should meet some or all of these criteria. Cards that have some fond memories associated with them, cards that can contribute to positive play patterns, enjoyable decks, and or splashy moments, and cards that don't create runaway games or negative play patterns. These are also cards we felt would be safe at the power level of bracket 3 and above, where Game Changers generally sit. However, we also wanted to recognize that the idea of Commander brackets and the Game Changers list is still relatively new, and that not everybody will be using these systems. We want to be mindful with the cards we chose to unban. Over the rest of the year, we will be curious to see how the adoption of brackets continues to go, and how these unbans affect players' games. That will tell us a lot about future unbans we may make. Let us explain each of these 5 unbans. Okay, so Gifts Ungiven. This is a beloved card with a great history. I love that they just have we wish. Yes, that's right. This is a beloved card with great history. I like that they give us just like a nice little breakdown here. This is a beloved card with a great history. Many of you out there have enjoyed casting this card in all sorts of formats. We're excited to return it to Commander. The previous concern had been the nature of this as a power tutor. Yeah, exactly. The time-intensive casting process and the combos enabled by this card. We considered this within the structure of brackets and just regular pre-game conversations. If your deck is trying to infinite combo people with this, they should often help sort out if you're playing it in the right environment. On the other hand, a fair Gifts Ungiven is a very fun and akin to Fact or Fiction in the politics and interplay between players it can create. So I agree here. I have a Modern Masters foil one as well. I need to find it. So Sway of the Stars. This one's kind of wild, and I have to agree with what Food Time said earlier. Sway of the Stars, a 10-mana way to reset the game akin to Worldfire, which was previously unbanned in Commander to little fanfare or play. There are some players who enjoy this effect. It is an impactful card, but not very powerful. There are plenty of other spells that cost 8 or more mana that have a far higher impact than Sway. Yeah, it's interesting. It like resets the game, and then people race to see who can kill everybody once they're at 7. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, can we get the likes up? I think we need to get the likes up. Are we not there yet? We need to get likes up. What are we currently at? Currently at 71 likes. Thank you as well for the super chats earlier. We do appreciate you so much. All right, then we have Braids. This is the one I'm honestly the most scared of. This card is a beloved character and a card many are nostalgic for. When played as one of your 99 cards or later in the game, it is a totally reasonable effect with appropriate impact on the game. The most frustrating Braids games are when it's put out extremely quickly and people feel locked under it. However, as little as a single removal spell can really set the entire plan back. As commander decks have become more efficient. Yeah, I do agree with that. And we did talk yesterday about how if you have artifacts, if you have treasure, if you have tokens, you could kind of get out from under this, because it does say sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. It's not all of those things. So there we go. We hit 75 likes. Let's go. Appreciate it. Everybody, if you are watching on Twitch, we appreciate you watching on Twitch. If you are watching on YouTube, we appreciate you watching on YouTube. A lot has changed since Braids was banned in 2009. We mostly believe people will know what they're signing up for in a game with Braids as a commander, and as a card in the 99, it's reasonable and acceptable. So yeah, if I were playing Braids, right, I would most likely be running Lightning Greaves. I would most likely be running, you know, Swiftfoot Boots. I would most likely want to protect Braids, because if we're going into the pregame discussion and everyone's like, so what are we running? Hey, I think I'm going to run Braids. I would expect my opponents to be like, okay, I'm going to run my deck that has, you know, 10 spot removal in it, right? Like, that's probably a pretty fair assessment, is that people are going to be, you know, looking to remove it. That would be my thought. I would imagine. Coalition Victory. This card, what is this word? Why do I not know this word? Jesus. This card engendered a great deal of discussion. A lot of it boils down to how impactful and how much of an auto-include it is. In a deck with 5-color commander, it essentially reads, you win the game if you control your commander. That is not the most satisfying end to a game, and it does begin to become an auto-include for many decks. Is that an appropriate card to exist? However, it can easily be interacted with. A single removal spell in response to your 5-color commander means you spent 8 mana to do nothing. You also need to untap with your commander and 8 mana. And there are many expensive spells that will do something akin to ending the game in a 5-color deck if you resolve them. Additionally, for those engaging with commander brackets, it is within the time frame of where we expect an I win combo to fall. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? This is an interesting choice. Blightsteel Ninja, I agree with you. Cut a couple redundancy pieces, you know? Cut a couple redundancy pieces. That seems good. And then just put in removal. I know that people want to be able to do their thing, but removal is important. Removal is important. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. I like the whole just play removal. Yeah, I mean, more removal in Commander seems smart. I do have some friends that are like, you know, they don't want you to play a lot of removal. But removal is really important to the game. I think it's something that's an important inclusion. Now this one, also pretty. This one's pretty wild. Panoptic Mirror. 5, and it has imprint. X. Tap. You may remove an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost X in your hand from the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy an imprinted instant or sorcery card and play the copy without paying its mana cost. So you use the mirror and you imprint cards, and then you essentially put a bunch of stuff under this, and it gives you kind of like an arsenal to do at your upkeep. MTG Gaming Bob, I am absolutely down to say that I made a big oof. I don't think people are going to want those Docsides. I have 8 of them. Thankfully it was just a flyer. We didn't lose everything. Didn't bet the farm on it. Didn't take $1,000 and just put it into them. But I did buy, essentially, a good bit of Docsides. Absolutely bought 8 Docsides. I spent like $300 on them. Doing anything crazy with mirror feels pretty slow and easily disruptible. Yeah, I mean, this for me is like, obviously it gets caught in a catch-all of stuff like Vandal Blast, but this would be one of the very first things I would kill with spot removal for artifact or enchantment destruction. I personally have been a Panoptic Mirror enjoyer since it was originally printed back in Darksteel. The promise of using a cool spell each turn is so fun. That's still true today. A value mirror is a blast. There are 2 problems with it. The first is imprinting an extra spell turn, okay? The game is over immediately. The second is imprinting something extremely repetitive, such as a board sweeper, so that the game cannot move forward. The latter is something to be a lot less worried about in 2025. There are so many answers to artifacts and decks that even if you're under a board lock, can get you out of it. The first one is well addressed by bracket play through the restrictions on combos and lower overall density of extra turn effects. And regardless of the bracket system, many tables have a good idea of whether they enjoy infinite combos appearing in their games and if that's something they want players to do in their decks. Finally, it does take a full turn and large mana investment, and people have several windows to respond to it in. They can kill you before you untap, in response to the ability, or after the ability resolves and your opponent is down a card. These cards have not been legal in Commander for a long time, originally being banned between 2005 and 2009, and a lot has changed in both Magic and Commander since. We are not opposed to banning them again at some point in the future if they still prove problematic. However, these feel in line with our expectations and are okay to try given where the format is today. I know many of you out there will be excited to try them, and I look forward to reading about what you all come up with. These changes are effective immediately in tabletop and will be reflected on Magic Online later today. Okay, now these are the cards. Panoptic Mirror. I have to agree, even though this card is absolutely cracked and busted, there are a lot more ways to respond to this stuff than when this stuff was originally banned. Coalition Victory, though it does seem very boring, like you win the game. I do think that this is a card that can be dealt with, just like they're saying. I think the basic land part is going to be a lot easier because we have triomes, and so anybody who's playing this is going to be able to satisfy the basic land type part of the card. I think having a creature of each basic land type, I mean, if this does go in like a Joda or something like that, then sure, I think there's probably a way to make this happen, and you are in black, so you can easily tutor it up and just go get your win condition. And I do believe that because it's 8 mana, it's like that's kind of realistic, right? Kind of makes sense. It's like, okay. So anyway, Gifts Ungiven, Sway of the Stars. Gifts is probably the most cracked one. Like, I know that CEDH is going to be super excited about Gifts. Braids. This is a very strong card, but it does say or. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land with all the treasure, with all the food, all the tokens, you know, if you're playing against somebody who goes wide, this card isn't really doing much, right? And everything else is just kind of mana intensive. Like, you need to play this for 5, and then you need to imprint something, and so you're paying a high cost into imprinting whatever you put on it, especially if what you're imprinting on it is expensive, meaning high converted mana cost. Or mana value, rather. All right, so let's talk about Dockside, Jeweled, and Mana Crypt. Many players out there probably immediately scrolled down this long article as quickly as they could to discover the fates of these cards. We did talk about these cards and are not unbanning them at this time. Opinions from the Commander format panel varied. Some believe Commander is more fun without them. Others would like more time to see how the Commander bracket system is adopted before doing anything here, and others felt it's too soon to do anything with these cards. There were a few people who were open to doing something with Jeweled Lotus now, but that was not the majority opinion. The overwhelming majority of the panel did not want to do anything with any of these cards at this time. I will be transparent and say that I believe if any of these were ever to return, it's most likely would be Jeweled Lotus due to its one-shot nature, iconic feel, and ability to help support high mana value commanders. I want to be clear, this is not me saying that it will ever have... Okay, so he essentially just reiterated everything he put in the article. I know many of you love these cards. Many of you are also glad you no longer have to play against these cards. There's always that kind of push and pull with power and potentially ban-worthy cards in Commander. I appreciate there are many people in both camps, and that no matter what happens with these cards, somebody will feel like they didn't get the result they wanted. However, we wanted to talk about these cards here honestly and what was said internally for transparency. These cards will be something I'm sure we'll talk about next year, but for this year, the book is closed on these 3 cards. Okay. Interesting. For future bans, Commander's been through a lot since last September. It's been a time with change of hands, a new panel being formed, and lots of uncertainty around what will remain on the banned list. After this appraisal of the banned card list and changes, we'd like to take some time to just let things sit for everybody to exhale after waiting on this announcement and have a bit more of a relaxed time in Commander news, in the Commander news world. Additionally, we'd love to give more time for the Commander bracket system to develop, which will help inform how much moving cards off the ban list and onto the Game Changers list does for how often and where these cards show up. So we're committing no further changes to the ban list for the rest of this year. Okay, so they're kind of like letting things just shake out, which I think is a fair thing to do. So for anybody who watched my video yesterday, you saw I bought a bunch of Dockside extortionists. I know that was something that people saw that I did. I bought 8 of them. I bought a Mana Crypt foil because I've always wanted a Mana Crypt foil. If you're sitting on those cards, you are probably going to see them dip in price, at least in the short term, unless there's some reason that they come back in the future. But for now, this is what we got. Ban list review. First, the list of cards that don't need a lot of additional explanation, either because they're classically powerful or don't make sense for Commander. Oh, and then they just went in here, talked about all of these, why they didn't come on. It's kind of fun that they did that. This card massively strips resources out of the game, providing mass land denial, hand disruption, and board sweep all in one. Emrakul or Biorhythm. We discussed this card a great deal. We ultimately decided not to unban it. It can go in any green deck, requires very little setup to cast, and really disproportionately impacts the player to your right compared to Coalition Victory, which only goes in 5-color decks and requires you to control 5 colors worth of permanents. It's a bit much. It could potentially come up someday, but we're leaving it for now. Emrakul. Powerhouse, whether cast or cheated onto the battlefield as a colorless card that any deck can play. It was the de facto top end in a ton of decks, while legal and saw a lot more play than was fun. It's possible as the bracket system grows and takes off that it may be more tolerable at bracket 3 and above, but for this moment we've elected to leave it banned. Arayo, this card is incredibly unfun when flipped early, and structuring your deck to do that on the second or even first turn is fairly easy. Combining it with Arcane Laboratory can end the game. And even without that, it's an oppressive force. It's not that beloved or fun. Yeah, this thing is not ever going to be unbanned based on what I just read. Fast spawn, not only is it incredibly strong, an incredibly strong way to continuously play additional lands for little cost, but there are all kinds of loops you can pull off with this card, like Crucible of Worlds. Yeah, true. Flash. Yeah, like when you think about fast spawn and Crucible of Worlds, you play fast spawn, you play Crucible of Worlds, you play like Strip Mine and Wasteland, and then you just go to town, just destroy everybody's stuff. Just be like, all right, I destroy all your non-basics, keep playing it. It like the loop there is just disgusting. It's just absolutely disgusting, backbreaking. Flash for Flash Hulk, that makes sense. Golos, I know a lot of people were talking about Golos. Incredibly powerful 5-color option in both finds any land, ensuring that even if dead, you likely had enough mana to recast it the next turn. Has an activated ability that could be extremely strong. Spout for all that mana. It really homogenized games and was the de facto best commander option for many, many decks. Perhaps it's an acceptable card in higher brackets, but it's not something we want to touch. Grizzlebrand, cheating out Grizz Daddy and drawing an absurd number of cards was an incredibly powerful thing to do during the 1-month window where it was legal, leading to quick action. Once in play, you tend to draw either 28 or 35 cards immediately. The game often ends that turn. I can imagine a world in which Grizzlebrand returns for high bracket players to enjoy, but I would say it's more likely than not Grizzlebrand permanently remains on the ban list. Permanently. That's the only one where they've said the word permanently. That's pretty wild, dude. Wow. Like this one, man, I wouldn't touch Grizzlebrand with a 10-foot pole based on what I just read there. It's probably a good idea to wait. Looks dumb to flip-flop. Let the bans play out. Yeah, talking about J-Lo, Dockside, and Crypt. Everybody, if you are enjoying the stream, click like and subscribe. Come hang out with us again in the future. Hull Breacher. Incredibly unfun card that stifled a popular part of Commander, spiked the popularity of wheel effects, and made an outrageous number of treasure tokens. There's a theoretical rejiggering of brackets where you could tell me this is acceptable, but I wouldn't expect it, and certainly not with the brackets as they are now. Iona was discussed heavily. On one hand, it's an awesome 9-mana angel that could create some pretty interesting decisions against the table of 3-color decks. On the other hand, it can shut down monocolor decks. Food Time brought this up yesterday. Yeah, it just shuts out monocolor. If someone's playing that, you just like shut them down, boom, they're dead. Gaming Bob says Grizzlebrand spec, let's go. Yeah, you would really need to, you know, be going pretty hard to make that work. Leovold, Saltai Boy. As a theme today, stopping your opponents from drawing extra cards is very powerful in Commander, coupled with the fact that you can play it as your commander and get value if people try and target you makes Leovold unlikely to return. Yeah, Leovold is stupid. Not only is it a 3-cost commander that you can easily get out quickly, but yes, the way that people build it is not fun. It's not cool. It's not chill. It is not cool. It is not chill. Limited resources. Locking each player to 5 lands forever is extremely constraining and not that much fun. All for a single mana. I think it's unlikely to see this return. Yes. Yes. Makes sense. And then we have Lutri. Poor Lutri. While the shell of the card is no doubt fine, and many players would love to see the Otter freed for their decks in a post-Bloomborough world, the companion restrictions mean that every deck with blue and red in its color identity would include a copy at no cost. That's not appropriate or tenable. I could imagine a world with an allowed in the 99 only list that would free the Otter to go in people's decks, but we're not doing this now, nor is there any guarantee we'll do that ever. So Lutri stays. We welcome your feedback. And then Nadu, incredibly problematic card that's earned its ban in most formats, Commander included. It leads to very long and unfun combo turns and is extremely strong with staples like Lightning Greaves, not to mention it easily refunds the mana to play itself out of the command zone. Yeah, this thing should never return. Paradox Engine, incredibly easy combo. Paradox stays banned. and Prime Time. While it is beloved and nostalgic, the amount this card accelerates is massive and can really dominate the game. Those who played it back when it was legal know how often the game would revolve around a Primeval Titan, whether it died or not, cloning it or otherwise. I do think that this card could potentially return and be put on the Game Changers list, but this card can be extremely warping, and now was not the time. And then Prophet. Seedborn Muse just got promoted to the Game Changers list, and Prophet is that, but you also get free reign to play your spells on everyone else's turn. Yeah, exactly. I'm happy this one stayed banned. Darth Brando just subscribed. Appreciate you over there on Twitch getting in. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting us on Twitch. The cross streaming is very much an important thing that we're doing over here, so I appreciate the support on both platforms. This card shall be banned forevermore. Includes in a future secret layer. Yeah, watch they do like a secret layer at some point that's like a some sort of secret layer where they just put like too hot to handle, and they just do a bunch of game or a bunch of banned cards. Yeah, Prophet makes sense. Recurring Nightmare. The play pattern of repeatedly looping the same creature. Yeah, exactly. And without an interaction window, because the returning of the enchantment is a cost, and the combo potential leads to this card that is more likely to create harm and frustration than good. It is nostalgic, which is nice, but not a card we wanted to touch at this time. That little tidbit, at this time. Steve, what's up, man? It's nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. And then we have Raphaelos, Llanowar Emissary. The mana provided by Raphaelos out of the command zone is massive. Maybe this is something that could only be in your deck and not as a commander, as it's much stronger when your deck is built around it, but the card is unlikely to return at this time. So Jank, my friend, my buddy, you beautiful moderator, you sweet, sweet man. I'm sorry that you bought a foil Raphaelos yesterday, but you know what? He sure does look good. He sure does look good. Will do, Steve. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, we are over here doing the thing. And then Sundering Titan. I'm happy they got rid of this. I'm happy that it stayed gone. I am very happy it stayed gone. This card is miserable at low power tables as it blows up tons of your opponent's lands and tends to get blinked, reanimated, or otherwise triggered time and time again. It's fairly unfun experience. It's possible that as brackets continue to increase in adoption, maybe this would be an acceptable game changer, though even then, upgraded decks don't want mass land denial around. Yeah, this is the kind of thing where, kind of like what we were talking about with braids, right? If we sit down at the pod and we say, hey, I'm playing my deck with Sundering Titan, people are going to be like, all right, buddy, you dead. You're dead, friend. So, just the thought. And then Sylvan Primordial, I'm happy that they didn't do anything with this. Speaking of blinking and land destruction, Sylvan Primordial puts you ahead while setting everybody else back and is a prime candidate to clone, blink, and flicker. It is not the most fun card, especially at more casual tables. This one I could see unbanned in the future. No. Don't do it. Gaming Bob says, I still have the 4X Raphaelos I opened back in 2000. Then we do have Tinker. I mean, that's pretty cool that you got those oldies, Bob. That's pretty sick. Tinker. This one makes sense as well. Being able to turn any mana rock into a large game-ending artifact threat early is widely powerful, which is why this has caught an appropriate ban in many formats, Commander being one of them. Yes, this makes sense. Tolarian Academy, artifacts are everywhere in Commander more now than ever with the proliferation of Flood, which is what we say over here for food. Flood. Flu. Oh my God, Jake. Speak. Read. Punch the keys. Clue. Food. And treasure tokens. This mana producer would end up in the same kind of fast mana nonsense alongside artifact ramp it's always been. Yeah, we talked about Tolarian Academy yesterday and how Tolarian Academy would eclipse Gaia's Cradle. I was not in that camp originally, but then chat very quickly gave me a spanking. And they said, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Tolarian Academy, it would eclipse Gaia's Cradle. And I think with all of the artifacts today, they're probably right. After I went back and thought about that a little bit more. Trade Secrets, this card is miserable. I don't even think we need to read it, but sure we will. It's an unusual one. It's a collusion card, meaning 2 players can collude to draw tons of cards. It's not the most fun to resolve or play against, and the games where it is cast are rather silly. While there is a bit of politics in that you must opt into making it work in general, it's not the kind of gameplay to be promoted. It is unlikely to be unbanned. Yeah, exactly. God, that goes all the way back to Commander when it came out in 2011. Pretty wild. And then Upheaval, this card sucks. This board sweeper resets the entire game back to square one for only 6 mana, which would be a problem. Yeah, this is a card that I would say goes into the troll category, right? This card is a troll card. This card is for people that like to see misery on other people's faces. This is like if you are there to troll people and get reactions, that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing where the card is just a nightmare. Card's a nightmare. Yogg's Bargain. Necropotence is very strong and is now a game changer. Bargain, while more expensive, gives you the cards immediately and lets you combo off. This card is stupid as hell. So all of these make sense. We talked about this extensively yesterday. The stream is not over. The stream is not over. I know that we got through the article, but that does not mean that the stream is ending. What it means is that our conversation here is beginning. I want to talk with chat now. I did a lot of reading. I want to know what you guys think about the bans. I want to, or the unbans rather. I do think that, you know, I kind of want to look for, God, where is that? Hold on. Where is that foil? MTG bulk foils? Would I put it in there? I kind of want to find my foil gifts. Wonder if I have any gifts. Hold on. Do we have Nightbot set up? Do we happen to know? We need to get Nightbot set up because I want to do a giveaway. I want to give away some Dragon Shields. Give me just a second, chat. Don't go anywhere. Blue cards. Behold, blue cards. Oh God. Geez, my headphones have officially broken. If you want to join the Patreon, help me buy new headphones. All right. I want to see if I have gifts in here. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, Mother of God. I've got all the blue stuff. Paige is going to be here in a few days. She's going to help me organize. It's going to be the most awesome thing. You guys are going to be like, what? Your girlfriend is coming into town. She's going to help you organize? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'd be like, you guys gonna go out on a nice dinner? You guys gonna go out? No. Nope. Strictly business. Organization only. That's what we're doing here. All right, let's see. Blue rares. Here they are. Do I have gifts in here? Because this was just a bulk card for a while. If I can find one, I want to give it away. Anyone whose name starts with the Z gets sleeves. Oh, I see you. The chances of me playing gifts with blue being my least favorite. Ooh, there's a flash. That's cute. Chances of me playing gifts are so rare. I would rather just give one away. Oh, there's my baby. Blizzardrix. Here, let me go back to just Jake on camera here. Let's take a little look-see at this moment. I am hanging with chat now. Now it's time for chat. This is chat time. Upheaval being banned with Cyclonic Rift, it seems a bit odd to me. I guess because Cyclonic leads to a win, whereas Upheaval doesn't. Well, here's the other thing is yeah, with Cyclonic Rift, because it's one-sided, right? You're bouncing everybody else's shit, and the expectation after that should be that now I'm gonna wreck some stuff. Jenk says, it's okay, it's gonna be a pretty card on my desk. Talking about your Rafellos? So chat, these are all blue rares. I have a big 2-row box here. I'll show you it. So you can see blue uncommons, but all that stuff before blue uncommons, those are all blue rares. So I'm just looking through, sifting through, see if we can find a Gifts Ungiven. My 50 copies of Gifts at 280 a pop is looking mighty good. Bad Boy Gaming. Bad Boy Gaming. You dirty, rotten, naughty scalper. You dirty, rotten scalper. I can't believe you spent your money on all those. Look at you now. What are you going to trade them into? Ooh, a Training Grounds. That's a good card. Just sitting in my bulk. I need to actually play that. Look, Imprisoned in the Moon back before it was an uncommon. Bad Boy Gaming. What a gosh darn jerk. He went out there and bought all the Gifts Ungiven. There were none for anybody else. Oh, there we go. We found one. All right, there's one. See if we have any more in there. It's the day where Gifts Ungiven is good, everybody. We're going back through the bulk to find it. Do I have another one? Keep one for myself, because obviously if I do build a CEDH deck, and I was thinking about building Tivit because it's a very straightforward kind of deck. I really enjoyed playing it. I have to have another one, because I'm pretty sure I have a foil one somewhere. It doesn't matter, because I want to give this one away. I just have to figure out what we need to do it. Chat, you have to understand, Bad Boy Gaming bought every single Gifts Ungiven. Every single one. I'm just memeing. I like to meme. Because in MTG, sometimes we like to overreact. Oh, there we go. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Okay. Okie dokie. Literally just found a playset of them. I hate Tivit. He's good. Right? He's fun. All right, so I found a playset of gifts. I could have swore I have a foil one. There's got to be a foil one somewhere. All right, so this is what we just found. Modern Masters 2017 versions, and then one that's from this set. So we'll give, I don't know. Let's give away one of these 2017 ones. Oh, we have from 2017 original Modern Masters. So OG Modern Masters. Modern Masters 2017. And then gifts ungiven. And the reason that I have physical cards here is why, chat? Because on this channel, we actually buy cards. All right, so here we go. We got this. Gifts ungiven. I'm going to give this one away. I want to figure out how Nightbot works, though. Brian B just subscribed. I appreciate you. And you know what? As an added part of this, what we're going to do is, as an added part of this, we're going to go ahead and I want to give away one of these special tokens. I said that these are tokens that are going to be, I mean, what are those? What are gifts at right now? Those have to be at least like a few bucks, I would imagine. What is a base copy of Gifts Ungiven gone to? Like, this is something that I would probably send out to Card Conduit. Not a channel sponsor. Just something that I like. It's just a service that I really like. I think Card Conduit is good. You have to buy every copy ever so the prices go up. I know, that's what I'm going to do. I've got money in the bank. I'm going to start using that money, and I'm going to start buying every copy of Gifts Ungiven, and I will be able to find all of them. I imagine that I will. All right, let me put this back really quick. Well, what is a base copy? Is it $20? Nice, 10-bagger bad boy. For a base copy? That's a nice 10-bagger, my dude. Go from $2 a card to 20 bucks a card? You know what you should do? You should convert those into like a diamond or something, a Mox Diamond. That's what I would do. If I had bought 50 copies of those at $2 and I just took a $200 investment or a $250 investment to $2,500 or more, I would absolutely convert that to a couple of reserve list pieces. I imagine you've got plans for it, but you know, money is money. Do what you want with the money. However, I will say that today is the day, my friend. Today is the day. Because, and it's cool that you're here and we get to actually discuss this. As somebody who bought 50 copies of it, right? At $250. Wait, why am I not getting that math right? Why am I not getting this math right? Jesus, Jake. All right, you bought 50 copies of gifts times 2.5. All right, so you spent $125 on Gifts Ungiven if you bought 50 copies at $2.50. And right now, those same 50 copies are worth 20 bucks a piece. So $1,000. Okay, so my math was wrong. The math was not mathing. For some reason, I multiplied it by 100 and not 50. So you turned $125 into $1,000. That's fantastic. Yeah, I would absolutely convert that into a Mox Diamond if that were me. So in this situation, if we were Bad Boy Gaming, this is what we would do. I would take those cards and immediately sell them into this hype, because the way that Magic works, or actually, you know what I would do? I would scale them out like they were a stock. So for example, if I had 100 shares of GameStop and GameStop were going to the moon, right? I would scale out on the way up. I would have prices set. So I would say if I had 100 shares of GameStop, I would sell the first 50 into the hype, and then I would scale them out at different levels along the way. So if I were Bad Boy Gaming and I had 50 copies of Gifts Ungiven, I would immediately sell 25 of them right now. Then what I would do to recoup my investment, to get myself into the deep green, I would sell, and none of this is financial advice, but I would take 25 of them, I would sell them immediately right now. Then I would wait to see how the community starts to adopt it, and I might sell another 10 over the next week. Then what I would do is I would take those last 15 copies and I would scale them out as they're adopted, and I would probably hold back like 10 of them for myself to see if it becomes a real powerhouse in CDH. And if it does, I would make sure to scale out those last ones before it gets a reprint, like an inevitable reprint. So I wouldn't sell the entire position all at once, because there's no reason you need 50 copies of Gifts Ungiven. If someone buys 50 copies of a card, they're buying it because they're speculating on it's probably going to do something or that kind of thing. So you want to scale out. And that's what I like to do with that kind of thing. You don't want to blow your entire load and then miss the moonshot, right? That's kind of how I like to look at it, is if you have a few cards left over at the end, then you get a little bit of a taste, right? You get a little bit of a taste of that top profit, because most people, and these are stock traders as well, most people are never going to hit the peak. Okay? So if this is the peak here and you bought your position down here, you're going to have a little bit of regret if you sell your entire position here before you get to the peak. So the idea is, as you scale out, you don't have that seller's remorse here, because when it gets up here, you at least have a little bit left, so you can be like, wow, I sold at the top. This is what happened when I had AMC. I remember I had like 150 shares of AMC that I bought at a cost basis of like $8 a share. And on the day that AMC went to $72, I was scaling out all day, dude. I was scaling out all day. I was in the kitchen having safety meetings. I was dancing to like Modern Love by David Bowie at like 8 in the morning, drinking a beer. It was the most amazing day of my life. It was like one of my favorite days ever. I was a degenerate that day. I was just listening to 80s music. I drank all day, and I was scaling out all along the way. Now, I sold my first half of AMC. Now, I know people hate when I talk stocks, but this is honestly, it's kind of important because it's the same kind of way. I sold half my position when AMC was at 45. And then my scale out points, and it was all automated, right? It was like 45, 50, and then I sold a bunch of shares at 69.42, 69.420. So at $69.42, a bunch sold. And then that was where I think the rest of my position kind of sold off. So that was honestly, yeah, you adjust the asking price. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, it's kind of like a similar philosophy, right? Is if you sell everything early, then you're always wondering what if, but you don't ever kick yourself for taking profit, which is why I always kick myself for not selling my SRAMs when I actually had an opportunity to sell them, right? Is I had a ton of like SRAM senior edificers, and I like literally over 100 of them. The card went to $8 a card, and I had them in a cart to Card Kingdom to sell them off, and I did nothing with it. So anyway, yeah, that's just my thought on that. But congrats, Bad Boy. That's sick, man. That's awesome. I did not buy. I had Doge at one point, but I don't mess with that anymore. JA, like a true degenerate. We buy high and we sell low, baby. That's what we do. Buy high, sell low. So how does everybody feel about the bands today? Overall, I want to get some ideas. Let's get a little poll going. I want to do a little poll. I want to know how people are actually feeling about the want to get an idea of how people actually feel about it. Engage with the audience. Poll. How do you feel about the bands? Try to set aside the fact that some of you are making money today. I'm okay with it. I don't like it. I'm okay with it. I don't like it. I'm indifferent. It doesn't affect me. Or, yeah, you know what? I think that's fine. Let's just keep it there for now. I'm okay with it. I don't like it. And you know what? Okay with it for the sake of this poll means I feel good about it. I didn't put I love them or anything like that, but I'm okay with it. I think okay with it generally means I feel good about it. I want to know how people are feeling about the bans today, because I think that's kind of like an important spot to kind of touch base together and get an idea of how we feel. I'll tell you how I feel about something right now. Let me show you this. Look at what your boy did. And I learned a lesson. I learned a lesson today, chat. Data says, hey dude, your channel was recommended after I watched Alpha Investments Vid. Just subscribed. I appreciate you, Data Rogue. I learned a lesson. My lesson was, don't listen to rumors. Don't listen to rumors. Am I selling them? No, at this point, I'm holding them and I'm going to remember them forever. And hopefully they revisit the card in the future. Now, here's the thing. I only lost $300 on those. I only lost $300 on them. Or, I mean, I guess, you know, I gained 8 cards. All right, I want to figure this out. Okay, so I want to give away this Gifts Ungiven. Let me see if I can pull up Nightbot. Let me see if I can figure this out. Is there any way that we can run a giveaway? Let me talk to Blight. Blight, are you around? Is there any way that we can just run a giveaway here with chat? I am getting I'm getting blown up on my video. Oh my god. Let me look at comments. Okay, if we can run a giveaway, I want to talk about a couple things. Very first thing, I'm going to give away a copy of Gifts Ungiven, so thank you all for hanging out. And then also, in addition to that, I'm going to give away an old token. This is or I guess it's a new token. It's a new token that's an old token. But this was designed by Blight Widow. Blight Widow's an amazing artist. I want everybody in chat to say, Blight Widow, your art is amazing. She does really cool stuff. This is from the retired channel, Jake and Joel. You will never see another Jake and Joel token commissioned or made. And I'm going to give it away with this Gifts Ungiven. So there are 100 of these that are limited to the first 100 patrons who sign up at Patreon at any level. I believe we already have like 55 or like right around 60 people that are signed up at any level on Patreon, $5 or more. And each of them are going to get one of these in addition to whatever the patron perks are. You can go into the description of the video and you can find out what the perks are at each of those levels. And this token, which as you can see, it is from the old channel, this channel that no longer exists. This token here will be given away with the Gifts Ungiven, and then anybody who signs up on Patreon is going to get one of these. And once they're gone, they're gone. I have 100 of them set aside for the first 100 patrons, and then after that, I have like 100 of them left, and I might give them away in like giveaways or conventions or something like that. Like if you see me at a convention, I might have a password, and if you say that password to me, I'll give you one of the foil tokens. But once they're gone, they're gone. I'm going to give some of them to Paige because she designed them. I'm going to give some to, you know, like friends and family and that kind of thing, just to be like, hey, you know, this is what we're working on. But yeah, she does amazing art. Her stuff is really, really, really good. And honestly, if you need a token commissioned, she does this really, really beautiful black and white motif. It's super dope. I'll show you the black and white version of it just so you can see what it looked like before we made it into foil. So this is the black and white. This was how it was originally designed. The border on it got a little bit cut off when we had them made, but it still looks really cool. So it's a treasure. That's how it looks. And then this is the foil version. But yeah, let's run a giveaway here. I want to see if we can do this. And then in addition to that, we're going to give away some dragon shields, because I still have a ton of dragon shields from when we were sponsored by Dragon Shield, or when I was sponsored by Dragon Shield. Let me go get some dragon shields really quick. It's time for that beloved chair stream that everybody loves so much. Here we go. I'm gonna get some dragon shields going. Yeah, take your time, set it up. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep accumulating Docksides. Now I'm going deep. Now's the time to average down, baby. So in addition to the gifts ungiven, I'm gonna give away these midnight blue dragon shields. These are the really nice matte textured back. These are honestly really sick. I love these sleeves a lot. I like of all the dragon shield stuff, these are my favorite. The matte textured back are really good. So whoever wins this giveaway is going to get these dragon shields, a copy of Gifts Ungiven. I figured blue sleeves with a blue card, and then one of the treasure tokens from the old channel, just like an old memento. So give me just a second, and we're going to figure this out once we get this set up. And let me log into Nightbot over here. Let me see if we can do this. Yeah, just stick around, folks. Yeah, we're gonna give some stuff. Give a little stuff away here. Because God knows I don't need all of it. Add to chat. YouTube. Oh, here we go. Select what Nightbot can access. Oh. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, I think we're here. I think we're able to do it. I think I figured it out, actually, already. We don't have Nightbot. I think I figured it out, everybody. Keyword. Viewers, regulars, channel members, mods. Okay, so everybody is going to be allowed to participate in this. All right, everybody, in order to do this, I think this should be working. Test. Did everybody see that go through? Okay, let's go. Okay. Hashtag gifts to give. Copy. Paste. Done. Hashtag gifts to give. I want you guys to put that in there. I think, let's see if this works. I want you to paste it exactly as you see there. Exactly as you see it on YouTube. Hashtag gifts to give. Is that working? Viewers will appear here as they enter. I want to figure this out. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's working. Let's go. Let's go. I see 43 entries. I want everybody to get in here right meow. Everybody get in here right meow. Thank you for hanging out today. So you're getting a Gifts Ungiven. The Gifts Ungiven is from Modern Masters 2017. Brand spanking new. Unplayed copy. Hopefully you're going to play it in a non-degenerate way. We want it to be non-degenerate. You're also going to get this sweet token. There we go. Sweet token. Foily treasure token. This is artwork done by Blight Widow. And then also you're going to get these dragon shields. And whoever wins, I want you to reach out to me on Discord. You could just find me in Discord, send me your address, and I'll get this all out to you in a small little box. I'll get it out later today. Or probably tomorrow, most likely. Where is my cat? I do not know. So everybody, there is an active giveaway. Hashtag gifts to give. Get on in there. I'm seeing 51 entries. And you're going to go home with some brand spanking new Midnight Blue Dragon Shields, a Gifts Ungiven to put into your brand spanking new deck, and this exclusive treasure token from the old channel. The old channel, folks. Ye old channel. That's right. I see 53 people. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit more time. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. This was a little impromptu stream. We were not expecting to do this stream. Well, I mean, we knew that this announcement was going to be, but our typical streams are Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 5 Pacific Standard Time, meaning you will see me tomorrow and you will see me on Friday doing some streaming. We're still trying to work out exactly what the streaming schedule is going to entail. We know that we're going to stay on that schedule, but we are trying to figure out, you know, is Foil Quest going to be something that we do on Wednesday? Is Friday going to be like a catch-all we do like any kind of streaming? Most of the time, everything will be revolving around Magic. That is obvious. Like, it is a Magic the Gathering channel. The channel started just 2 weeks ago. We are 14 days old, and we have already hit 4,100 subs, cruising toward 4,200. If you would help us grow, if you think you're going to be back here for a future stream, I would encourage you to click like, click subscribe, come hang out with us again in the future. It really does mean a lot. A lot of folks navigated away from the old channel to come support over here, so thank you so much. Seriously. If you're just now getting here, hashtag gifts to give. Make sure you put that in. And you're going to have a chance to win a brand spanking new copy of Gifts Ungiven, this beautiful foil token, and some brand spanking new Dragon Shield sleeves. This gift's coming from my personal collection, baby. This card was never played. It was a nothing burger. And then I know what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be hunting down that foil. Because I know I have a foil one somewhere and I don't know where it is. Is it a worldwide giveaway? I would say, oh no, because then you're going to have to pay customs. If you win and you are out of the country, I will send you money comparable to what it is via PayPal. If you're outside of the US, I will send you a cash value comparable to PayPal. If you are in the US, you are going to get the stuff. I'm not just going to send you money instead. Now, what I can do is if it is worldwide, I can send it with an international stamp, and I could just send the gifts and the treasure token, but you wouldn't get the dragon shields because the dragon shields are that's going to be a box and a package. So these can at least be sent plain white envelope, and hopefully it makes it to you. Hopefully it makes it to you. All right, we've got 56 entries. That's not a bad chance there. 1 out of 56. Get on in there. I'll give you another couple minutes if you want to get in. Hashtag gifts to give. So yeah, if you are outside of the country, meaning not in the United States, I can send you the gifts and the token via plain white envelope with an international stamp. If you're in the country, I'm going to send you all three of these things. And if you want, if you're outside of the country, if you're like, man, I don't think a plain white envelope is going to make it to me, I'm happy to send you via PayPal whatever the price of this stuff would be. That's right. Yeah, so what Foil Quest is we open boxes, or it's mostly boxes of Japanese War of the Spark, and we hunt for a mono Liliana. So these boxes are around like 120 to 150 right now, and if you get the foil Amano, it's like a $2,000 card. So that's why we like to do this product, and we've never found it, and we've done like almost 60 episodes of it. So at this point, we're committed. We have a whole stats sheet and everything, man. Right, Food Time, exactly. I roll worse odds every day in WoW. Yeah, 1.8% chance is not too bad. If you are a Pokemon player and you do shiny hunting, you are looking at those odds going, man, I'm going to have that shiny by end of day. Those odds ain't shit. Why don't we go ahead and run it? Gods of Magic, Gods of Might. Bless your blessed polls tonight. Make sure that you're in there. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. He's going back up. Just kidding. 3, 2, 1. Brad! I've got Brad Ulo, MD. Send us a message. Let us know that you're there. Brad, going home with the treasure token, the gifts ungiven, and then the Midnight Blue Dragon Shield sleeves. Brad, are you in the US? Is this going to be easy for you? Can you find me on Discord? I think Brad is there. Brad is typically always hanging out in chat. Let's go. This put me in a better mood. Nice, Brad. I'd love to hear it. All right, so Brad, reach out to me on Discord, okay? Are you in the US? Is it possible for me to get you this stuff? Brad Ulo, MD, got it. MD stands for medical doctor. I don't know if it does, actually. What does MD normally stand for? Okay, sweet. You're in Chicago. Okay, reach out to me on Discord. Send me your address. I'm going to make sure I get you this stuff. I'm going to make a note about it right now, okay? Everybody, I appreciate you so much hanging out. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit. Let's look at some of these card prices. I want to see what we're actually looking at right now with card prices. If you are enjoying the stream, click like and subscribe. Come hang out with us again in the future. 9 subscribers away from 4,200 subs. Can we get there? Can we get there? We would love to get there. Can we do it? I still can't get over this secret layer. I want to know in chat, is anybody buying this secret layer? And just be honest. No one's going to make fun of you. But I want to know, is anybody buying this at this price? We got the $30 here. Or 60. I'm doing another poll. I want to do another poll. Oh, wait, let's finish this poll. How do you feel about the bans? I got 50% saying I'm okay with it, 22% saying I don't like it, and 28% saying I'm indifferent. It doesn't affect me out of 100 votes. So 50 votes said they're okay with it, 22 votes said I don't like it, and 28 votes are indifferent. Okay. I like to get that feedback from the community. All right. So right now on stream, you did get it. All right. I never bought a secret layer. Retro says, hell no to that secret layer. Josh says, I might get the chariot on its own, but that's not even worth the 30. Rogue Bullhead, they do still sell it. Brad says, message in Discord. Okay, cool. I will take care of that. We'll make sure that you get everything. Chim says, I have most layers, so you did get it. Skeeter says, I bought 1 foil and 2 non-foil because typically that puts me over the $100 mark. It wasn't until after I placed the order that I realized it was $20 more. I know. What a wild one today. Geeky Jeeky, in before it has the most banger bonus card ever. I know, right? That's kind of like the scary part of this, is like, what is the bonus card going to be in this thing? Watch it end up being like some freaking soul ring. And what they're doing is they're bamboozling us right now. They're going, oh, it's $60. Everybody's complaining right now. But once they get it and they open that secret card. Oh, my cats are terrorists with not covering up their poop. Oh, my God. Give me a second. Jesus. Gotta open the door. This is just awful. Pretty much on theme, though. Talking about the cat secret lair. I have my cats not covering their poop. I'll tell you their secret. My cat's secret is they don't cover their shit. No, the $30 non-foil is not bad. $30 non-foil is not bad. All right, I want to get this poll going. The new secret layer that's on screen, that's what this is about. Are you buying it? Donate to the Patreon fund, chat. We're getting Jake a new cat box and better litter. Yeah, dude. Like, man. All right, I think this covers our options. But I want to know, are you buying this secret layer? Everybody, thank you for the subs. Appreciate you very much. Thomas just subscribed. We appreciate you. We're 6 subs away from 4,200. We hit 4,000 subscribers yesterday, so we are just chugging along. Just chugging along. This secret layer, there's a poll up. I want to know your thoughts. Chaos Vault, are you buying it? Yes, foil. Yes, non-foil. No, and I'm buying multiple. Well, 5-9, because we are kind of limited to our poll options, I would categorize fuck no under no. Venom says the pricing just shows they're trying to make these more expensive. At this point, the deck is going to be $200. Venom, I don't think you're wrong. I think you're kind of hitting it right on the money there, buddy. Isn't a foil Realms Uncharted big money? It's a scarce card. Realms Uncharted is a Magic the Gathering card that I've always liked. All right, so it's scarce. Yeah. So it's a card that only existed in Rise of the Eldrazi, and then now it has a secret layer version. Foil on TCG Player, yes, $56.93. But again, these foils from Rise of the Eldrazi are expensive foils. A lot of this stuff is super scarce. So yes, that is a good note. If we were to sort, are there no foils listed? Why am I not finding any foil prices? Oh, here we go. I'm seeing foils. Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me for some reason TCG Player is not letting me select foil on here. I don't know why. Oh no, what happened? Why did 5-9 get deleted by Nightbot? Oh. Now Nightbot is doing things that I'm not used to. Give me a second, 5-9. I'm sorry, I'm passionate. I'm Italian. Clive9, you have to keep in mind, I just set up Nightbot, so I don't know exactly what the settings are on it. So it's not anything that we did on purpose. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Jeez. All right, so I see moderately played foils for around 43, 45, getting into a near mint foil, so $56. But anyway, this for me is a pretty shenanigans price for this. That's why I told you to remove Nightbot. Just turn it off. How do I just turn it off? I thought now that I activated it, it's there forever. Well, we needed Nightbot to do the... We needed it in order to do the giveaway. I don't know what you want from me. I'm trying my best. Nonsense layer for nonsense. I know, right? All right, so... But it's cats. You're leaving out that it's for cats. It's cat. Blight Widow, help me understand what I've done wrong. Still bought a non-foil because I like cute cards. Right. Is the problem. Jake, is that a Britney Spears hat? It's from Pagosa Springs. Oh, you were setting up the giveaway so Bill could do it. Well, I did it first. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do... We'll talk about it later. We'll figure out the best way to do it in the future. Now she's saying we didn't need Nightbot. Well, I didn't... All right, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out next time. I don't know how to tell it what to do. Here we go. Excess caps turned off. Excess emotes turned off. Excess symbols turned off. We're doing our best here. Just hoping the bonus card is that Ocelot Pride. That would be a good $60 spent, but there's no way. Yeah, they're not going to put Ocelot Pride in there. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think... I don't think that that would be something that they do. Max just subscribed. We appreciate you very much. Yeah, this secret layer for me, it's like $60 now for a foil. Like, here's the thing. Deadpool we just had. I hope the bonus card is the Deadpool Blacker Lotus. Yeah, here's the thing. We just had Deadpool, and Deadpool, a mechanically unique card, right? We get a new card. It's also a Universes Beyond IP, so it's like a Marvel thing. So it's like, as the consumer, you could kind of make that little mental jump, right? You're able to say, okay, I'm paying $50 for the foil of this because, you know, there's a markup because it's Marvel. But this, jumping it to 60, and the only reason that they've jumped this to 60 is because of the Realms Uncharted. Like, if you're wondering why this secret layer is $60, it's because of foil Realms Uncharted. So they're directly looking at the Realms Uncharted foil price. Yeah, Food Time, I hope so. I hope it's the kind of thing where they look at it and they just go, well, yeah, probably not the best choice. I have to be very critical of this. This is a very slippery slope, because then what's going to end up happening is every time there's a scarce foil, they're going to look at the secondary market price, and then they're going to come over here and they're going to be like, well, if we put this card in here, we could charge $60 for it. Secondary market doesn't influence us. That's a lie. I think so as well, Blight Widow says. I think they're just testing to see what they can get away with. I have to agree with you. Like, I get that Asika's Chariot is cute. Like, this is cute. I mean, it literally looks like my cats. It's literally my two cats. I have an orange tabby with a bushy tail. He looks like a squirrel. I have a gray Maine Coon. The only difference is that the paws are bigger, but I have a gray Maine Coon with like a little tiny goatee and giant big poofy white hair on her chest. They're the cutest cats. And these look exactly like my cats. There's part of me that really wants it just because it looks like my cats. I wonder if that's by design. I would go so far as to say yes. Retcher says, my cats aren't buying it. They aren't fans of the price at all. With how many treats that could buy instead? Of course, exactly. Is Little Witch an IP? Is this? Yeah, someone help me. Someone help me here, because I might be off. Is this a Universes Beyond kind of thing? Little Witch? I think what I mean when I say, you know, like Universes Beyond kind of stuff. Like, at least with Deadpool, we got a mechanically unique commander from that, right? Okay, so it is. It is a Universes Beyond kind of thing. Okay. The IP is your cats. Yeah, this is 100% a price threshold test. I've been saying it since it was revealed. The commander deck will be $200. Yeah, possibly so. Truly. Pretty wild. Oh, you know what? I completely forgot to take my meds. Give me a second. Yeah, look at it in contrast to Deadpool. So Deadpool was $40.50. So what they did was they went down $10. So it's very calculated, right? They went down $10 to $30. They went up $10 for the foil to $60. This is a test. This is absolutely a test. Yeah, caps are good now. Chat, would everybody just go ahead and tap in all caps for us really quick? Everybody just do some all caps testing for us. Everybody just yell at me. Yell at me. Yell at me now. Do it. Do it. Yell at me. I wish Patrick and SpongeBob were mechanically unique. Yeah, Patrick is kind of a big letdown, yeah? Hell yeah, brother. We got another super chat. Let's go. Hey, who super chatted us? That's nice. Someone sent a super chat our way? Caveman with the $2 says, congrats making it this far so fast. I appreciate you so much. That means a lot. That means a whole heck of a lot. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, we monetized the channel in 2 weeks. We've got our watch hours. We've got monetization set up. Look at us. We are clawing our way back. We're doing the thing, everybody. And we could not do it without you. And I mean that so much. Like, seriously. Having folks here to actually watch these streams for a brand new channel, it means a ton. Currently have over 100 people watching. We had like 150 people watching earlier today. They dropped that news early. I was expecting the news to drop on the actual stream, but then I'm getting calls from Venom. I'm getting calls from Blight Widow, and they're saying, hey, buddy, wake up. Wake up over there. Blight Widow said, hey, Jake, why don't you move to the bed, set an alarm? And I was like, but if I move to the bed, then I can't wake up all achy if I fall asleep on the couch. And so my neck hurts, my back hurts. I feel like Bill Murray in Little Shop of Horrors. It's like I'm just addicted to the pain. I'm just addicted to the pain. Sometimes I want to feel the pain. Retro with the $2 super chat. I appreciate you. Says second is the best. Thank you, Retro. We appreciate you. Jake is a heavy sleeper. That's right. Because I keep my phone on silent. My phone is literally always on silent. I never have volume on my phone because I hate that noise it makes. It's like, if I get a text message, it's like, I could probably change that. But I'm adverse to change. I'm addicted to pain. I'm adverse to change. Which is why I don't like the price on this being $60. Let's not do that anymore. Do what? Fall asleep on the couch? Yeah, Patrick is for sure a letdown. We need to contact you about the MTG news. But how do I get the MTG news if I'm trying to get my morning snooze? Yeah. Yeah, Bill Murray's character in that, addicted to the pain, loves going to the dentist, doesn't want any sort of anesthesia, just wants to feel the the pain in the teeth. Oh my God. All right, chat, here we go. This is the poll. This is the actual poll. Are you ready? New Secret Lair Chaos Vault. Are you buying it? I have 6% said yes, foil. I had 7% said yes, non-foil. And I had 85% say no. And 1% said I'm buying multiple. And here's the thing. They don't care about the 86% that said no. What matters is that they sell it. And so the people that bought it, no shade, not hating at all. Thank you for being honest. Blightsteel Ninja says, between Joel and here, we get 2 Christmases now. That's right. That's right. Mom got you over on the main channel, but you got dad over here. The bachelor dad. Living in his bachelor pad. You might be behind in the stream. Am I behind in the stream? Oh, never mind. You're talking about true Mrs. Popo. Got you. Yeah. As per usual, mom gets the house. Mom gets all the kids and all the goodies. And dad is stuck out on the street. But you know what? Dad's rebuilding over here, baby. We're building back. All right, let's end this poll. Now here we go. This is the poll that I really want to get going. Start a poll. All right, you get a $1 million a year salary, but when you go to the dentist for a filling, no anesthesia. Here we go. Start the poll. Clean my background. I can't clean my background. I'm adverse to change. I'm adverse to change. You get a $1 million a year salary, but when you go to the dentist for a filling, no anesthesia. I'm seeing 11% are saying no. Oh, yeah, I didn't think that some people don't easy just have no teeth. Checkmate. I'm gonna have someone on payroll to pre-chew my food. All right, maybe this was not a good poll. I feel like I'm getting absolutely wrecked on this poll. Jank says, as someone who's very recently been to the dentist for a filling and had them get very close to my nerve, this is tough. LOL. And Jank, you have the dentist coming up tomorrow, am I correct? Or no, is that Friday? Sour Weasel, thank you for hanging out. We really do appreciate you so much. Thanks for hanging. We're one subscriber away from 4,200. Does anybody want to help us get there? Oh, we just did. Thank you for the subscription. Shuffy. Snuffy. Snuffy. We appreciate you. I'll just pay for veneers. Oh, thank you for the other subscription. Thank you, Christian. Am I forced to get the filling? No thanks. Root canal on Friday. Root canal on Friday. Oh, God. Oh, that scares me. I didn't see a dentist for almost 20 years. When you went, what were their thoughts, Poster 66? Root canal raw for 1 million. Would you do it? I like my dentist. She's awesome. I like a good dentist. Dentist is one of the things where I'm like, oh man, I don't enjoy it all that much. We will get to 100k subs. And then, and only then, will we get to 100k subs. Darth Avenger 1992 over on Twitch. Thank you for being on Twitch. Thank you for supporting us over there. Not a real doctor, though. Rogue says, my cousin does this. They made him get anesthesia for a root canal or they wouldn't do it. They were like, no, you're going to do that. Retro says, 1 million a year salary. You want to feel the pain so you can still feel something through the numbness. That's right. You got to work for that 1 milli. Yeah, it's like, oh my God. Oh God. Yeah, that's why back in the day they just pulled the tooth, right? I mean, they are. My cats are awful with their poops. They're just leaving them uncovered. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. All right, so I really botched this one, but 50 of you voted. I said you get a $1 million a year salary, but when you go to the dentist for filling, no anesthesia, 80% of you said yes. 20% of you said no. I think what we're doing is we are getting shit-faced drunk and then going to the dentist. We're just going and we're like, oh, just go for it. Just do it. Oh, God, just do it. Just do it. What were we talking about? Something magic cards. I think we were talking about magic cards. What I wanted to do is I wanted to look at the prices of the cards that got unbanned. That is something that I do want to get done. So let's go ahead and do some searchy time. The very first card, Panoptic Mirror. Well, holy cannoli. Yeah, I'm sure that this has been said ad nauseum, but at this point, what I would say is if you have any of these cards and you're not using them, sell them. Just absolutely sell this stuff. Lowest price here is $54.99 for a moderately played copy. I would imagine if this gets unbanned, you would see it reprinted probably within like the next year or something like that. Yeah, could you send me something on the Marvel Arena stuff? That would be interesting to talk about. If you want to send that over to Discord, we'll go ahead and talk about that. So Panoptic Mirror, $54.99. Jeez. Gifts Ungiven, which we just gave away a copy of. I'm seeing multiple prices here. The one we gave away, $19.99. So about $20 for a non-foil copy of Gifts. And that's something where, you know, there's a lot of different copies of it, right? Lowest price, maybe this borderless one. All right, so near mint on this has gone up significantly since yesterday. Geez, anybody who bought Gifts like for $2, seriously, you are deep in the money. This was a low risk pickup too. If you said, you know, for $10 I'm going to take a flyer, just buy a playset of these, you are sitting real nice right now. Gifts Ungiven, Coalition. Yeah, this is what I have. I have the Invasion copy of this. If anybody opened the list reprint. Yeah, heavily played, $13. This kind of speaks, in my opinion, to interest in this. Not only is this card super restrictive, being an 8-cost card, but it's also super restrictive because of the colors. It's just like, it's not fun. It's kind of like an unfun card. It's an interesting thing to try to work toward. Like, if you can cast this in Commander, it's kind of impressive. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of mid. And it's sorcery speed as well. Jesus. Yeah, anybody who took out a $40 flyer on a Coalition victory. Wow. But look at how scarce this is, because look at the yearly chart, right? You have 6 items sold in August. There's just like no items. You had 1 item sold in February. You had 1 item sold, another item sold in February. You have 2 items sold, and then you have 3 items sold. There's just like these old foils, like old foils, like actually true retro foils, are so scarce. They are so scarce. Yeah, the card is kind of boring. That's for sure. Now, let's look at Sway of Stars. This is a card that not a lot of people are going to play, dude. There are not a lot of people going to be playing this thing. Let's check out the foil price on it. Yeah, I mean, that's about what we expect, right? 1 item sold, 1 item sold, 9 items sold. So yeah, this card goes up a big jump, but you have to find buyers for this, right? You have to find somebody that actually wants to buy this thing. What's the other card I'm forgetting? Braids. Now, I know I have some copies of Braids. Yeah, MH2. This one comes down to, are people even going to want to play it? Like, I'm looking at a foil version right here, lightly played foils that are available, but I just, like, I think that, you know, the Commander community already has an idea of, like, what their play group is like, and they're just saying, no, not for me. Like, if you bought foil copies of this for like 25 cents, 50 cents, and now it's $4, that's pretty sick. But yeah, I just don't think people are going to be interested in this. I don't think most people are going to want to play against it, especially if you build it well. If you build a very good Braids deck, I don't think that people are going to want to play against it. And I think that's fair. I think it's fair. Other than that, did we look at all of them? I think we did. I think we did. Mana Crypt coming back down. Coming back down to Earth. I had the EMA version. Yeah, you got people, a lot of people undercutting here. They're like, wait a minute, we're getting out of Mana Crypt, getting back out of it. There's also, with the confirming of Mana Crypt being not unbanned, cards like Ancient Tomb. Stuff like this. I would expect cards like this, now that you have this confirmation, like, okay, what fast mana can we use? Wow. This is a card that I have multiple copies of. I kind of want to get rid of some copies of Ancient Tomb. I think I have 6 copies of this. I have 1 Ultimate Masters version foil. That is the box topper version. Hold on. So I have 1 Ultimate Masters box topper. I have 1 Zendikar Expedition from BFZ, or it might have been Oath of the Gatewatch. I have 2 Zendikar Rising versions. And I have 3 Tempest versions. So I have 7 Ancient Tombs. So, like, this is one, because the price has gotten so high on Ancient Tomb, I do feel like this is probably a good card that I would sell. This looks like a card that would be used to push a set in the future. I wonder if Ancient Tomb is the kind of card that gets upshifted to Mythic. I wonder if they would upshift this to Mythic. And then I also want to look at the game changers. Can we see the updated bracket? Did anybody get a screen grab of the updated bracket? I would like to take a gander at that. Do we have any look at all at the updated bracket? Yeah, let's take a look at Mox Opal. This is another one. This is another one that I see as being high risk to buy right now. I feel like this is a card that absolutely could get a reprint. Another card to help push a set. We think Ancient Tomb would 1,000,000% be a mythic. I want to see the new Game Changers. Wasn't that on the... They showed us a new Game Changers bracket. Put it in Discord. You did. All right, let me take a look see. All right, thank you so much for finding this. I appreciate you. So, taking a gander at the new brackets. This is pretty interesting. So Dranith was already on here. Enlightened Tutor already on here. So Humility is added. That makes sense. Sarah's Sanctum, Smothering Tithe, Teferi's Protection. I like that Teferi's Protection is considered a game changer. Because it is. When you cast a Teferi's Protection late in the game, that could be enough to just get you out of all the trouble that you need to get out of. I feel like I agree with that. Also, Consecrated Sphinx being a game changer. I agree with that too. I think that was probably a good choice. Intuition as well. Game changer. Narset Parter of Veils. Look at that uncommon. Made it as a game changer. That's pretty cool. And then they remove Trouble in Pairs. Yeah. White just does not have a lot of game changers, does it? Then you have black. Ad Naus, Bolas' Citadel, D-Tutor, Imp Seal, Opposition Agent, Vamp Tutor, and Turgrid were all game changers, but now Necropotence, yes. And also Orcish Bowmaster's becoming a game changer. I think I agree with that as well. Even though the card really shines most in CEDH, Orcish Bowmaster is crazy with the amount of damage that it can do when people start drawing cards. It just starts pinging down the entire board, and then you just residually get this giant army that you could just swing in. It becomes a great removal. It becomes a win condition. And all on a 2-mana flash. It's just pretty wild. Pretty wild. Red with Gamble. Gamble being a game changer. That's kind of interesting. Red having Gamble on there and deflecting SWAT. I tend to not agree with SWAT. Let's get a poll going. This is the one I'm kind of iffy on. All right. Kind of iffy on this one. I just don't agree with it. Try not to use my bias because I've already revealed my bias and my thoughts on this, but deflecting SWAT being a game changer. I want to know how you feel about that, chat. I know Food Time is out there with a take. Food Time, I want to hear your take on this one. Yeah. Ancient Tomb, man. Ancient Tomb is such a card. Jank says, I'm assuming it's amusing, excuse me, it's amusing to me when cards are considered OP, but mostly because other people in the pod can't be responsible enough to play around it. I think Orcish, are you talking about Bowmaster right there? Pinch It Hero says, I think it's only a game changer if someone else is doing something that is also game changery. The local place where they play Commander always has like 20 dogs. I hate dogs. Oh, like people are bringing their dogs in? Kraken Jank, like Bowmaster is not that bad if people aren't being greedy. Right, Jank, here's the thing. I think that this inclusion of Orcish Bowmaster being a game changer probably comes from CEDH. Because I have only dabbled in CEDH, but the game that I did play, there were like 2 Bowmasters out. And the amount of damage the Bowmasters were doing from people just constantly drawing cards from Rhystic Study, it was just keeping the board absolutely just suppressed. So it's like when you're in a pod where everybody has a Rhystic out or a Mystic and people are constantly drawing, that's when Bowmaster really shines as being a problem, right? Like you look at that and you go, damn, that is a fucking magic card right there. But for the most part, Bowmaster is pretty chill. No, you're right, Jank. It doesn't. It doesn't. But I do see what you're saying. Like, yeah, you get a Bowmaster out there and somebody has a Consecrated Sphinx, they're drawing a ton of cards, or people continue to draw cards. That's when it's like, okay, man, I wish I had a removal for that Bowmaster. You know, it's funny, until I really saw Bowmaster play in CEDH, I always thought, or excuse me, in EDH and CEDH, I always thought the card was just kind of mid and kind of chill. But, you know, seeing it shine in Modern, that kind of thing, it would ping a couple things, but I never thought it was like that insane. But now that I've seen it play in Commander, I do see how strong it is. Game changers are cards that level up even the worst Magic players. Will says Universes Beyond versus Universes Beyond Commander should suck, though. Bo says Bowmaster. You are the master, Bo. Food Time, that's not true. I've seen people whiff hard on things like Rhystic, LOL. Poster says, I have a page of punch-out tokens for Fallen Empires. Came from a screen or the other magazine. All right, let's, I want to check in. I want to check in on this Deflecting SWAT here. Should Deflecting SWAT be a game changer? 65% of you are saying yes. Why? Why do you think it's a game changer? Just because it's a free spell? Is it just because it's free? I'm just trying to figure out, like, truly. Is Deflecting SWAT? I want you to stop talking about Rhystic and stuff for a second. I want to talk about Deflecting SWAT. No, you do whatever you want, chat. I'm like hungry. I'm hungry. I know. It's a game changer because it's free removal. What else could swing a game like free removal at instant speed? It's free. It'll change the game. I mean, everything changes the game, right? Like humility, for example. I look at that and I go, that's a game changer. Smothering Tithe. You know, Ristic Study. Ristic Study should be a game changer. Hold on. Oh, fuck me. Ristic Study is a game changer. Never mind. It should be, and it is. God damn it. Like, by that logic, Ristic Study should be a game changer. It is. It is. It's a free spell that could stop somebody from winning the game on the spot. That changes the game. Red needed more game changers. They were like, what do we got? Gamble. That card tutors. They take the one kind of janky, shitty tutor that Red has, and they make it a game changer. Like, Gamble is just a fun tutor. I don't even think that Gamble should be a freaking game changer. You can absolutely fuck up with it. I love red. I love it. I love it just a little bit less than black. And those are the best colors in Magic. It's non-disputable. We don't even need to discuss it. Those are the best two colors in Magic. Black and then red in that order. The order, this is the best order of Magic colors from top to bottom. Black, red, white, green, blue. It's not disputable. We don't even need to discuss it. That is the order from best to worst. I do not think that red. Right, exactly. But it's like, okay, sure, because Breach exists, Gamble is just good by default. Jank says blue and green are the best colors. I agree, Jake. Good take. Jank! I think you missed what I said. From best to worst. Black, red, white, green, blue. Which would be black, red, white, Brugu. That's the order. Brugu. Brugu. See, it even has the best acronym pronunciation. Brugu. Black, red, white, green, blue. Brugu. I know Gamble can get any card, but I mean, so can D-Tutor. So can V-Tutor. Is Gamble instant speed or is it sorcery? Brugu. No, that's his brother that didn't make it into the show. Brugu and Grogu. To be honest, Entomb should probably be on the list. Do you think so? That W sounds an awful lot like a U. No! Brugu. 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 W sounds an awful lot like a U. Oh, God. Gamble, you mean the red Entomb. All right, anyway, we'll move on from Gamble. I don't agree with deflecting swap being a game changer, but maybe I'm just wrong and stupid. I'm open to being wrong and stupid. I've been wrong and stupid before. I can be wrong and stupid again. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with being wrong and stupid. Let's move on. If you think I'm wrong and stupid, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. Let's move on to the green stuff. Crop rotation. Do we agree with crop rotation? I feel like there's a lot of times where crop rotation is a game changer kind of effect. I tend to agree with this. Would I want deflecting SWAT in a bracket 2 game? I'm fine with it because most of the time with a SWAT, I'm just staving off a removal. Most of the time, I just use it to protect my commander. All right, let's do a poll. Let's do a poll for crop rotation. That's what people are going to be that's what this channel is going to be known for. People are just going to be like, oh yeah, do you go over to that Martishius Magic channel where they just do polls the entire stream? But you know what? We have people over here to do polls, so that's what we're doing. Should crop rotation be a game changer? Okay, so with crop rotation, like you go grab Orborg and Cabal Coffers. You go grab your Gaia's Cradle. You go grab, like sack any land. Like, for example, I use crop rotation in winter because winter puts finality counters on permanents. I use crop rotation, and shout out to Jank, because Jank told me that I should be doing this, and I do now. I use crop rotation to get rid of a land to go grab nesting ground. That way I can move my finality counters off of my stuff and put it on other people's stuff. So that's a good use. Crop rotation to go grab a Bajuka Bug if you need to get rid of somebody's graveyard. Crop rotation to go grab any sort of utility land that you need, like crop rotation to go grab your so you could crop rot to go grab an emergence zone so that you could cast something at instant speed that you wouldn't typically be able to cast. Yeah, essentially crop rotation is a land tutor. That's what it is. And not essentially, it is. So I think there's a lot of applications here. So I think for me, like, don't let my bias influence you, but for me, I do think that crop rotation probably does work as a game changer. Yeah, crop rotation to grab Maze's End. Yeah, there's just like a lot of ways for crop rotation to really like sway a game, for sure. The other stuff in here: Food Chain, Gaia's Cradle, Natural Order, Seedborn Muse. Like Natural Order, yeah, I tend to agree. Even though Natural Order is a little bit expensive, it's in green, so we don't really care. Don't tell Jake I'm eating barbecue chicken right now. Well, this one I'm immune to, because barbecue, as much as I like it, I do think it's delicious. Especially if there's a good char on it. Wait a minute. I actually do like barbecue chicken. I do like that. Yeah, Food Chain, for example, like absolutely a game changer. That one to me doesn't make sense, and it does make sense that it's on there. It doesn't make sense that it wasn't on there to begin with. Yeah, exactly. Natural Order, even though it's a 4-cost card, It is too easy to just go ahead and be sleazy. I did not play during Mana Burn, but I have heard stories. Survival of the Fittest obviously makes sense. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger obviously makes sense. Worldly Tutor, it wasn't on there, and this was one that a lot of people brought up. Worldly Tutor should probably be on the list and is now on the list, so that makes sense. Let's go ahead and talk about this one, because I think that this one's kind of iffy. I kind of feel a little bit iffy on this one. I do see crop rotation is a pretty big split here in our poll. Should it be a game changer? I'm seeing 48% say yes and 52% say no. So a little bit definitely split there. Essentially a coin flip. But I do want to talk about this one as well. Aura Shards. Should Aura Shards be a game changer? I mean, obviously it is, but I want to know what your thoughts are on it. Should it be a game changer? What are your thoughts? And then I have to go get some lunch here, chat. So typically we would do a 4-hour stream, but you know what? Today wasn't even a stream normal day. Our streams are typically 1 to 5 Pacific Standard Time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but today we're doing a Tuesday stream because of the big news. I've got some stuff I need to mail out. I really want to get the most out of this day. And so as much as I want to sit here, I have other stuff for the channel that I must work on. I'm seeing 70% already are saying yes for Aura Shards being a game changer. Yeah, it does kind of sit there, and if people don't do anything with it, it can warp a game. Food Time is saying your opponents can't play artifacts and enchantments is pretty gross. I mean, you have to have something to follow it up. That's my only argument against it, is you need creatures that you can play in order to get the most out of Aura Shards. Oh, I'm going to give those cats some pets if they'll stop pooping constantly. All they do is poop, poop, poop. It's like my cats live to shit. They're like, what am I going to do today? I think I'm going to poop a lot. It's like all they do is eat, look cute, and poop. Hey, come here. Whoa. A cat. Whoa. Hold on. I got you. I got him. I locked him down. Oh, and he's gone just like that. I locked him down and now he's gone. Come here. Does anybody have some good recipes for a cat? Air jail. Yes. Does anybody have good cat recipes? Because I'm keeping these guys nice and healthy just in case I want to have an exquisite dish at some point. See, it's Bill from the new Chariot art. Oh God, buddy. He doesn't want to be held. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just don't want to be held. I don't know what it is. I pay good money. I feed him. He doesn't want to be held. The door's open. He can go out. He can go out if he so desires. You smelled their poop. I wouldn't eat those things. I know. What are you doing? Hey, don't mess with my wires. I'm gonna eat you. If you guys have good recipe for cat, send it my way. I'm seeing a lot of people say yes for aura shards. Was aura shards originally a game changer when it came out? Or no, obviously it wasn't. Was aura shards originally on the discussion of like, why wasn't it a game changer when the game changers list was originally revealed? Like when they first revealed game changers, was there a lot of discussion around aura shards? I don't feel like a lot of people brought it up. I play a lot of aura shards and it shuts down decks. Okay. In fairness, if Worldfire isn't a game changer, then I don't see why Sway of the Stars would be. Both are mass land disruption, so they should both be restricted to bracket 4. Yeah, I mean, Worldfire's a pretty wild card, man. Worldfire truly is a pretty wild card. Now, Notion Thief, I think I kind of agree with Notion Thief. I think I agree with Notion Thief. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead that player skips that draw and you draw that card. So Notion Thief, I think I agree on this. And then the only other two were Field of the Dead and Mishra's Workshop that were added, and I think we can agree that Field of the Dead is a game changer. Field just is so like difficult to deal with, and then Mishra's Workshop is Mishra's Workshop. It's a card that has a ton of people priced out. So like, for example, like I just want to show you this really quick before we start wrapping up. We have Mishra's Workshop here from Antiquities. Heavily played. $2,200. Most people are never going to own this, so you're only going to be proxying it. Anybody who wants to own it is just, no shade, but like a whale who can afford to pick up, a $2,100 card. Tap to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. This mana may only be used to cast artifacts. Yeah, we don't care. If I could run this in Imskir, for example, and it were a cheap, affordable card, yeah, I'm running this. Abso-freaking-lutely. Like, there's no way that I wouldn't run this. Yeah, and it should be. It should be a card for Cube, and I should proxy it. And if I ever built a Imskir CEDH, like if I wanted to just take one of my favorite commanders and just build like the sexiest, fastest bracket 4.5, like try to be CEDH deck, then I would absolutely run a Workshop. I mean, it is freaking awesome, this card. It is massive. But at this point, everybody, I am essentially just very hungry. I need to go get some food. I woke up, I had a protein bar, but now I need to actually get some fuel in the tank. I hope everybody has enjoyed this stream today. I really appreciate the super chats we got. Thank you so much. We gave away some stuff. I will let you know really quickly as we wrap up that there are about 40 of these left. I'll let the folks here just know who is available. These tokens are currently, there's about 40 of them left. I think we have 60 or so paid folks over on Patreon. These are limited to the first 100 people that sign up over there. This is a retired Jake and Joel token. These were late making it to MagicCon Chicago. These were going to be the handout kind of while we were there. But now that the channel has broken up and now that that these were not given out there, I have these, and so I'm making it an exclusive to our first 100 patrons. I have about 100 other ones in foil, and then I have about 100 of the non-foil one that are left. These will probably be given away or used as some sort of, I don't know, like future kind of stuff. But if you want a guaranteed one, once these are gone, they're gone. Sign up at the Patreon at any level. That's not the only perk. There's also perks over there. You get your name in all of our videos. If you sign up at the $10 level, you get your name in the credits at the end of the video. There's also going to be other things that we're developing over there on Patreon. There's signed cards and all that kind of stuff. There's eventually going to be like round table kind of things where you can join in on streams and give your feedback. But I do appreciate you all so much. I just wanted to say that last little bit. This has been a really fun stream. I bought some Docsides now that I'm going to sit on for a while, and I thought I'd be patting myself on the back today, but I think everybody can just give me a nice, you can go ahead and laugh at me. You can just laugh at me today. I appreciate you all so very much. Yeah, this has been a really fun stream. We got some big news today. And yeah, Corey G says, thank you, Jake. Good job and great coverage. I appreciate you. We discussed the secret layer. Oh, you know what we didn't discuss? We didn't discuss the Spider-Man thing. I missed the stuff about Spider-Man. Hold on. Hold on. As everybody's filing out, give me just a second here. God, I'm so bad at stuff. All right. Got one more thing to cover here. One more last thing to cover. I just want to do a little bit of a skim through on this. And then we are going to wrap things up. Every time we release a Universes Beyond set, we get a similar question. Is this going to be on the Magic the Gathering Arena, Magic the Gathering Online? We typically handle this on a set-by-set basis with the answer of that either being fully yes or demonstrably no. We love for the answer to always be yes, but sometimes things just don't work out that way. But all along, we've wanted a more permanent solution. And with Universes Beyond sets being legal in all formats, starting with this year's releases, we need a consistent and reliable answer. Enter through the Omen Paths. Though the Omen Paths releases will be digital sets that the Universes Within versions of Universes Beyond sets that otherwise wouldn't be coming to digital Magic platforms. These digital cards will be mechanically identical to their Universes Beyond tabletop counterparts, but with unique creative treatments, different art, and different names. We will not be creating through the Omen Path sets mirroring every Universes Beyond set, only the ones that will not be coming to digital platforms. This lets our formats remain mechanically at parity with one another digitally without having to create patchwork solutions here or there. We are currently only planning to create through the Omen Paths releases for full sets that are legal in all formats. For the remainder of 2025, 2 Universes Beyond sets will be coming to MTG Arena, Magic the Gathering Online, Final Fantasy, and Magic the Gathering and Avatar The Last Airbender. On one 2025 set, Magic the Gathering Marvel Spider-Man, as well as future Marvel sets, will not be coming to digital Magic platforms. Instead, we will release our first Through the Omen Path set on September 23rd. Interesting. So Spider-Man isn't coming, but Final Fantasy and Avatar will. The stream is overwhelming. Brad says, Jake, how about a bunch of us just build no commander ban lists and test it in Vegas? We could. Yeah, the stream is over, people. This has to be something in their deal with Marvel. Right. Precisely. Precisely. No, Brody, I love your autocorrect, buddy. Yeah, Avatar. Avatar's a thing, yes. Yeah, that makes sense, Food. That makes sense. It does. It does make sense. Look at everybody started filing out because I said the stream was ending and now the stream isn't over. What are they thinking not negotiating for digital rights? I bet Marvel didn't want it because it would compete with the... Yes. Here's the thing. We've talked about this before, but Magic the Gathering is like the movie The Blob. Just kind of absorbs everything. I think everybody knows that, for example, Lord of the Rings had a card game and it was not successful. I think there's a lot of depth to the lore of Lord of the Rings, but ultimately it was not a successful game, and so it died. The fact that Lord of the Rings is able to live successfully and that people are able to enjoy those characters and those cards in a game that is sustaining, that has withstood the test of time, aka Magic the Gathering, is a great thing. And so, yes, I do think that there's probably a conflict of interest in a way where it's like, okay, you know, like, I do think that Marvel and like the depth of that universe surely can support its own card game. Like when you look at something like One Piece, right? You have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of episodes. With something like that, you have enough depth to support a card game. Tons and tons and tons of characters. Magic the Gathering, they just come up with more and more and more and more stuff for their planes. And then the game has lasted more than 30 years. It's not going anywhere. It is arguably the best card game, even with its wonky mana base. Even with its wonky mana system. Bo, I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day at work. Thank you for hanging out. Yeah. But it is interesting. So no Spider-Man on the digital platforms, but we will get Final Fantasy and Avatar. Food Time says 2005 to 2013 RIP WoW TCG. I still have a shit ton of cards. Right. Like the thing is like I would rather be able to have my card like something like Stranger Things, right? Cool universe. Very interesting show. Lots of fun characters, cool stuff, but not enough depth to support a card game. However, in Magic, those characters can at least live and be enjoyed through MTG. So when you look at it like that, you know, that's not bad. Street Fighter. Cool characters. Interesting. I would say the same thing about Walking Dead. There's just not enough depth there to support a card game. You know, you see it with like Star Wars Destiny, right? Or Star Wars Unlimited, whatever. Star Wars, massive universe. I think there's enough there to actually support a card game. There's tons and tons of characters, tons of ships, there's tons of stuff. That whole universe was essentially about merchandising when you learn that George Lucas essentially said, you know, I'm not going to get paid, but let me have unlimited merchandising rights. And they were like, okay, bet, you know, sure. We're not going to pay you, but sure, any toys that are made, you're going to make that money. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I like that Magic the Gathering has, you know, the Fortnite-ification of it. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but like the Fortnite-ification of Magic that's allowed all of these other IPs and fandoms to survive. Like, for example, I love Predator. I love Alien. I love those movies. I love those universes. I do not think that Alien, even though it is one of my favorite, it's like my all-time favorite movie franchise, Alien does not have enough support to be its own card game. You have like a few different xenomorphs, and you have like the Colonial Marines and some cool legendary creatures, but outside of that, there's just not enough depth there in order for it to have its own game. You can be Predator and Alien in Fortnite. That's right. Oh, I know, dude. I would love an Alien Secret Lair or Predator Secret Lair or Terminator. Please give me Terminator. God, I would love that. I would love if they did that. Reskin Urza as the T-1000. Give us constructs. No, it wouldn't be Urza. I don't know. Would the T-1000 be a blue card? It's something that can come back. It can clone. Holy shit, you guys. I think the T-1000 would be blue. I think the T-1000 would be blue because it sure as shit is not white. It would maybe be blue-black. I think the T-1000 would be a blue-black card. It's not green. It's not red. Yeah, I think it's blue-black. You think it's colorless? I think it's Dimir. I think it's Dimir. It would be a blue artifact creature, wouldn't it? I don't think red. I just don't think red for some reason. It could be a blue-black artifact. If it was red, it would be a game changer. That's right. Thrill says, I bought a yellow neon ink crypt this morning. I hope I don't regret it this time by the next update. Colorless cast cost with a Dimir ability. Retro says Alien might work as a TCG if you focused on the planets and locations that could be won or lost in different ways. Possibly. Possibly. Yeah, we got 115 likes on this stream, guys. Let's go. Next band updates are 2026. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, we talked through all this. I appreciate you all so much. I am going to go ahead and wrap out the stream now. I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. We are going to be back streaming tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to stream, but I'm going to discuss it today with the team, figure out what would be a good conversation tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Friday as well. That is 1 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. If you did enjoy the stream, click like and subscribe. Also, you can go below and support the channel on a deeper level by going over to Patreon or going on over to Discord. Come get involved. Come hang out. We're doing like Commander gameplay sometimes. It's been a lot of fun. Don't Be a Llama, Nick S, Brad, 5'9", all the mods, Brody, Food Time, Jank, Blight Widow. Who am I missing? Venom. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Adam, thank you for hanging. Tyler, thank you all so much. I appreciate it all. We really appreciate you over here. And yeah, until next time. You hang up. No, you hang up. Giggle. No, you. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. I want you to hang up. All right, I love you guys. All right, I'm out of here for real because I am starving, and we've had a 3 hour and 30 minute stream, so let's wrap this thing out.